come all, nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we is, what we isn't, and what we is here today. Another glorious Friday, because today is One Piece Day. We had a break last week, so I have been stinging on a new chapter. So I'm excited, I'm happy. I got a shit-eating grin going ear to ear right now. Also, it's a long weekend, so, you know, good vibes to everyone, alright? I've heard that this chapter is apparently an absolute banger, so, I'm damn excited to get into it. I can only be so excited, though, considering the name of the chapter is The Legendary Hero. I've been hinted at that this is probably referring to GARP, but we'll see when we get into it. That being said, before we do, you know what to do, you know what's appreciated, you know what's expected at this point in time. If you're a fan of One Piece, show the damn love right now. We're at 147 subscribers as of this minute. 3 of you right now, subscribe. Immortalize yourself in the stream. It should give you the pop-up, as long as you're not on private settings. It should give you the pop-up to say that you've subscribed to me. And that being said, let's get into the greatness that is this chapter. Alright, we're picking up with another cover request. So I really do guess that the Vinsmoke serialization is over now. The cover series is unfortunately gone, done and dusted. But hey, that is what it is. It is what it is. We're picking up though with the cover request by Akami Ayoi. Kawamatsu and Hiyori playing with origami. That's kind of cute. Yo, Ged, good to see you, my guy. How are you? Haven't seen you in a minute. Alright, much love, mate. Much love. This is cute. It's kind of weird seeing the scabbards on cover pages now and not having them in the main story. But, this is cute. Weirdly enough, I kind of want a plotline where Kawamatsu sort of reunites with his, fisherman brethren. In all honesty, I'm actually a little upset that Jinbei didn't have, like, like a moment talking with him and being like, look, if you ever need a place to go, you should check out Fishman Island or something like that. I don't know. That being said, let's get into it. Ooh! Wait a minute. Hachinosu. The Pirate Island New World. Oh my god, I forgot GARP was going to Hachinosu. He was after Blackbeard. Yo. Please tell me he hasn't been off-screened or some bullshit. Havoc at the hive of piracy. Captain... Have I just made a tremendous goof? Does this have nothing to do with GARP? Captain Kobe's on the loose. No kidding. He is the hero of the Rocky Port incident. Ooh, okay. Then the Commodore's got no claim on him. His bounty's up for grabs. Oh my god, are we getting bounties? Cross-guild bounties. Oh. Oh. Mwah, 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 mwah. Please. How much do we get for killing him? Don't ask me. Cross-guild's footing the bill. I've got the collection ticket right here. The payout's huge. Spit it out. How much does his head win us? He's a 5-star bounty. Each star's worth a chest of booty, so he's worth around 500 million! That is post-Dressrosa Luffy-ian lore. Y'all are giving this man a buff because of his status. Because I love Kobe, but he ain't taking down no flamingo. I'm sorry, I don't see it at the minute. Each star's worth a chest of booty. So he's worth around 500 mil. Yo, that means the guys that we saw with Kid, there was one dude with 2 stars, one dude with 3 stars, and one dude with a crown. I don't know what the crown is, but that means that dude was worth 200 and 300 mil respectively. The average Navy captain only fetches a single star. Right, so because he's a captain, but he's a hero, he's got like a 5-star bounty. That actually kind of aligns with sort of what I was talking about with my cross-guild bounties on TikTok in a little way. I don't know if I would have given a captain 100 mil rating. Just because like there's the difference between normal captains and Marine headquarters captains. Like the captains that were present in the Ennie's Lobby Water 7 situation. Look, I would have given them 100 mil. That makes sense. Like Shu, Sharinguru, those sorts of cats. But the likes of like Axehand Morgan, even though we can do a projectile sword slash, like he was never like 100 mil sort of dude. You know what I mean? But I guess this might be like New World Grand Line captains have that 100 mil sort of love. Glitter, good to see ya. The average naval captain only fetches a single star. Wait, is that Mountain talking? Yo, the Mountain looks like it's talking there. That's weird. I feel a tickling sensation on the left side of my chest. That's right around where we keep the unsold slaves. Don't tell me they're escaping too. Does this mean it's open season on all of them, Pizarro-san? You crazy? Quit being so bloodthirsty. We need them alive. That includes Kobe. Wait, is Ivalo Pizarro the Mountain now? On some, like, picker shit? Listen or I'll tell teach. Ugh. Is that voice coming from the rock face? Because that mountain looks like one eye starts frowning, which it doesn't look before. Like, it's like wide-eyed, then one side starts frowning. It's getting that, like, sunny personification sort of thing. They know we're here. Let's hurry. Navy HQ Captain, Sword Member Kobe. Look at my man Kobe with a little bit of leg hair. I wonder how much bounty does Helmeppo have. I really want to think that it's a gag. I would say Helmeppo, being a lieutenant, is under a captain, so his bounty would be less than 1 star, right? So Helmeppo might be like half a star or 3/4 of a star. Like, not taking a shot at it, Helmeppo's not the hero of the Marines, you know what I mean? He hasn't done anything too heroic, and he's still only a lieutenant. We wouldn't have made it this far without you, Captain Kobe. Oh, so these are prisoners. Oh, there's minks there too. 561 6661 87. So those are slave numbers, I guess. We wouldn't have made it this far without you, Captain Kobe. Please keep going. I'll act as a decoy and keep him busy. Thank you. You're the best. Don't lose track of Kobe. Hunt him down. He's a saint. Yo, that's good. Yeah, look at what the fuck is with Pizarro, man? Dude's coming up out of the floorboards like he's trying to upskirt Shiryu. You could just catch him yourself, Pizarro. Nah, Teach always gets pissed at me for causing too much damage. Shiryu the... Oh, wait, are we getting devil fruits for these guys here? Oh, that's got me excited. Alright, Shiryu the Rain, an invisible man who ate the clear fruit. Corrupt King Ivalo Pizarro, an island man who ate the island fruit. What? What? This man just has the better picker. Yo, this was actually, on some real shit, this is what I was wanting Big Mum to do with Onigashima and Whole Cake. Bring the entire island to life. This dude ate the island fruit. Does that mean he can, like, he can essentially just assimilate with anything and control it? Or, as long as it's non-organic? Because he's turning into floorboards there. And then it looks like later on he turns into, like, stone. Can this dude just create his own islands, though? Like, out on the water and some real shit? You got Vasco shot. riding a bubble with his big gourd of booze. Then can I go? What do you have in mind, Vasco? And Shiryu is just there, just like, oh, why am I with these assholes? Yikes! If I burn the town down, there'll be nowhere left to run. Heavy drinker, Vasco shot. A booze man who ate the glug glug fruit. Does that mean he's a liquor logia? Yo, the glug glug fruit could be busted. If you can make other people intoxicated, or if you can act like a logia, that could do some real damage. Damn. Oh yeah, that's a perfect plan. Only thing is, all that fire damage would still piss off Teach. Glug. Yeah, it's my big chested boy, San Juan Wolf, making his post-time skip debut. I've been wondering where this man at. He just asleep, farting up 1/4 of the island. Look at this man. They only just patched up the damage from the Rocky Port incident. So this is the Rocky Port here. Okay. Well, I'll do a better job of it than Wolf. Glug, glug, glug. That goes without saying. The colossal battleship, Salmon Wolf, a giant who ate the big fruit and became a gigantification man. He is one tall customer. One very tall customer. And we cut back to Kobe, who's chained at the leg and still speed blitzing all these people. I found him. Escaping on foot might not be possible. But at least I'll be able to buy enough time for the others to set sail. So, hero, tell me. Okay, so we cut to a flashback here. Our Kiji's here. Ooh, our Kiji and Kobe moments may be cute. Give me the deets, Teach. Do you like my idea of making Pirate Island a full-fledged nation? It can be government affiliated so long as I'm king. The Blackbeard Kingdom has a nice ring to it, don't you think? I think it sounds delusional. There's no way they would acknowledge a country of criminals. That is straight up the plotline of Wapple, who was introduced the same arc that Blackbeard was introduced. I'm just saying. Also, Blackbeard, you've burnt bridges with the world government. What makes you think they're gonna buy your bullshit for 1 second more, bruv? Like, honestly. And who's this dude here on the corner with the missing teeth? Looking like a, you got the commanders around and Kobe around, and then you just got some random dude missing all his teeth. Or is that supposed to be like Katarina Devon or someone? No, not someone. Vasco. Come on, it's nice to piss. Oh, it ain't nice to piss on someone's dreams. Yo, look at the shit-eating grin on this Yogi Bear-looking bastard. Besides, I'm keeping you alive to be a bargaining chip against them. The Navy and the government would collapse before they roll over to a cowardly terrorist like you. Also, you're wasting your time. I'm a member of SWORD. Yo, and our Kiji's like, ooh, sword, you say? The sword! Sword? The hell's that? That rules out using him, Teach. If he's serious, it'll be a total bust. Yo, look at Blackbeard's face there. That is the most dismissive look I've ever seen on Blackbeard's face. Also, why the shit does Doc Q have a noose? Just chilling next to him. What kind of weird fetishy stuff are these boys into? Honestly. If he's serious, it'll be a total bust. Hang on a second. If he's serious, it'll be a total bust. He's already given up his Marine code. Sword members are Marines who are no longer recognized on paper. Everyone in Sword has a... Oh, shit! Everyone in Sword has officially resigned their commission. That allows them to ignore certain command protocols. For example, they can fight an emperor like you without authorization. And the Navy can always disavow their actions and cut them loose at any point. Yo, so I'm assuming that's Drake in the middle with the two swords. And that'd be Prince Gruss with the long hat on the left there. Which makes that one on the right kind of gives Tashigi vibes, but I don't think we've introduced, like, Tashigi hasn't been introduced with a sword thing. We did see in that other episode with the other sword members that there was a girl, so that might be the girl from Prince Gruss's, like, named introduction. Oh, I get it now. So that's why some rats scurry away while others don't hesitate to gnaw on your fingertips. Okay, so that ugly ass dude before was Vasco from a different angle. I know which ones I prefer. Still, I ain't budging on this. Let's see how far the plan takes us. I doubt the government would write you off that easily. After all, the public wouldn't be pleased to hear they lost their precious hero. If things don't go my way, I can at least give the government a bloody nose. Until then, keep him locked up. We can't have him slipping away and running for fun. Yes, sir. Stop right there, Cloby. Alright. Perona's slipped in. Hey, I'll let you out if you free Moria-sama. He's in one of the deeper cells. Yo, are we about to get a Moria and Kobe team up? For reals? For realsies? I may have teamed up with a pirate, but that doesn't change my duty. Come in. 3 Marines are attacking the... Okay. Oh, okay. So, okay. Hang on. Come in. 3 Marines are attacking the port. What? Did they just say 3 Marines? There's no way. They're crazy strong. Watch out. Yeah. Gosh, what am I thinking? It's not like they would send anyone just to save me, right? When did I start thinking the world revolved around me? I need to get a grip before I embarrass myself. Yo, the humility there on him is good. Also, is that a little bit... No, Peachbeard got captured. That dude there looks like Peachbeard. Yeah, okay, so these are the other members of Sword that we saw with Prince Grass. Who the heck are these guys? They're so tough. They seem to be trying to push us back to the town center. What are they up to? Stop them. Damn it, our guns aren't working on them. Yeah. Yeah, what is this? Enough already. So one of the dudes gets decapitated. Whoa, I cut off his head. That stings, and he starts, like, reforming. What the hell? Is he made out of clay? No way. He's a Logia? So, a clay Logia. That's kind of cool. Wobble. Hey, did that building just move? Yeah! Yeah, right. You've had one too many drinks. Where'd that Kobe guy go? Be a good boy and move your ass. Huh? What's with this crazy broad? No back talk. And whip that dirty look off your face. Is she scolding the building with a whip? Okay, this must be another Sword member. Oh, okay, so yeah, okay, that's that other, I think I remember the seagull on the side. I think that's that other girl that was with Prince Grass. And why are you guys staring? What? A Marine? What, you don't get many Marines around here? Well, at least you're both cute. Why don't you come a little closer? Navy HQ Rear Admiral, sword member. Kujaku, a tamer woman who ate the whip fruit. Granddaughter of the great staff officer Tsuru. Her name means peacock. Okay, so you got crane and peacock. That's kind of cute. I'll be happy to break you in. Yeah. We've got you cornered now, Kobe. Everyone get ready to pump him full of lead. Crap, I'm surrounded. I guess this is the end of the line. Yo, it's Hibari! Okay. Yo, so we're getting a damn good display of the sword members here. I want to see how Meppo do something. Fire. What the heck? Flowers? Wow, they're beautiful. Isn't that the shit that Vegapunk did in the Mads cover story? Turning gunpowder to flowers? Wait, what am I saying? Why are the guns making flowers? These must be GP flowers. Okay, gunpowder flowers. Who the hell did this? Hibari-san, is that you? Kobe-senpai, get your butt over here. And don't get the wrong idea. I ain't here. I use flower bullets so they won't be able to use their guns for a while. Yo, so they're trying to save his ego. That's kind of cute. Yo, I love her design here, though. She's giving me, like, early Viking Nami vibes when she had, like, the metal arm and the big axe. Like, she's got really, like, a guerrilla warfare Skypean sort of vibe to her. Like, she's one of the, what are those dudes? The white berets. Navy HQ Commander, member of Sword, Hibari. Oh, it's Groose! It's my guy, Prince Groose! It's perfect for Blackbeard to fight Imu to display his strength. And that way it is still Luffy vs Blackbeard as a final showdown. Ooh, Ged, you might have a point there. That'd be kind of slick. Prince, what's your status? Yoi! We're all set. Sounds like Kobe's safe too. How are things on your end? All good. Golem. Navy HQ Rear Admiral, member of Sword, Prince Gruss, the clay man who ate the squelch fruit. So that's like mud or clay. That's an onomatopoeia for like walking through clay. Okay. Wait! Does that mean the dude that got decapitated before is a golem made by Gruss? Wait! Because if it's not a golem, can he turn other people into a Logia? Is that... I had never even thought about if the awakening of a Logia is you can turn other people into your element. The way Luffy turns Kaido into rubber. Because what if you could turn your allies into your element too, so they're essentially Logias for a short term? How are things going on your end? What the heck? I don't remember the town center looking like this. Did the buildings move or something? Okay, so she whipped them to rearrange the buildings. All good, I'm right. Aim right for the middle. Ooh, we got the Shiki and Helmeppo. Preparations are complete. Everyone hang on tight. And there's my boy, Big D. Big Monkey D GARP. Blast off. Did they just coop the burst? What? Huh? Even Kobe shitting it. A battleship? I don't believe what I'm seeing. Is that a Navy battleship flying up right there? Wait, is someone standing on it? This is no time for questions. Let's book it. Crap, there's too many of us packed in here. We're trapped. That's impossible. Isn't he retired? You're kidding me. It's the legendary hero. Yo, when GARP is literally shitting himself laughing. Backing on the muscle, GARP. It's Vice Admiral GARP! Yeah, Shuri is looking on just like, why? I don't want to deal with this dude. Run for it. Screw running. Nowhere on the island is safe. We need to set sail. It's no use. There's no way out of the center now. What? Whoa! Oh, I scrolled down and it just took up the whole page. Way to blank out the left half of the damn page here. Thwap. Listen up, you pirate. Yes! Shit talk it, my bro. Vice Admiral GARP, and you see the Conqueror's Haki spewing forth from this man. You should have thought twice before you kidnapped Kobe. He's the future of the Marines. But why? Why would you go this far for me? Not to mention, he's also my irreplaceable prodigy. Yo. Fist! Coming in with all sorts of deadly right hooks. My man's wound up like Luffy. Yo, he looks just like Luffy throwing a hook. Ah! Galaxy Fist, and he projects Advanced Conqueror's Rio like a shockwave, like a good 100 meters off him. A hero's rampage. Break next week. Break next week. GARP without the need of earthquake fruit. Yo, I've been telling people Advanced Conquerors and Rio is equal to a quake. I've been saying that. I've been saying the thing that makes Whitebeard so impressive is he doesn't need to rely on his Haki to get this output. He can rely on his Devil Fruit and his Haki. But all the other top tiers that have to compete with that man have been equaling out the damage with their own bare hands. They've been punching that man. This may be a top 3 Conqueror's Haki feat in the entire series. Wait, hang on. I gotta see if Eggs is up. Hang on. Okay, what the hell did I just do? Hang on. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm losing my voice here. Hang on. Yo, holy. Ugh. Eggs! Are you there, Eggs? The desktop is unmuted. Hello?
Yo.
Hello? How are you?
Hello.
Hello?
One sec.
Well, I'll mute you for a second until you're ready. Yeah. Oh, God! Yo, he looks just like freaking Luffy throwing that punch. Oh my god, I love that shit. Hang on. I gotta pull this up side by side. I have to. Yo, where is it? I gotta find the exact one I'm talking about. It was like the one where he was punching Katakuri. Hello. Can you hear me? Eggs, hello? Ah, you can hear me now? Alright. We're live. I've unmuted you. GARP the fist! Yo, this was a fire-ass chapter, was it not?
Yeah.
Dude, no. You don't understand. Do you know how nervous I am right now? Like, happy nervous? Dude, last week we got the first named attack from Shanks. This week we get the first named attack from Garp. Mihawk and Dragon are coming up next.
Yeah, actually though.
Like, we may cut back to Egghead for like 2 chapters and then cut back to like 2 chapters like this back to back. You know what I mean?
Dude, can you imagine cutting to like Mihawk taking on Green Bull, who's using his black blade, because they're trying to rescue Weevil to get him to join the Cross Guild, and Mihawk just absolutely annihilates Green Bull.
Oh my god. And do you know what the worst part about that is? Based on Green Bull's Devil Fruit, he'd be able to come back really easy because of the greenery. Like, assume any greenery he's made.
You could hype him up without taking him out of the series.
Yeah. And like...
I mean, you can hype Mihawk up.
I mean, do you know what the best part about Green Bull is? It doesn't... He doesn't need to be... Like, he's like Hawkins. He doesn't need to be actually stronger than anyone. He just needs to be strong enough that if he tags you, it hurts. Which he is. And, like, everyone's like, oh, he's trash. Dude, if he can respawn from anything he's ever flowered, or any flower that he's come in contact with, think of it like this. Mihawk cuts him down and kills him. He's like, we defeated Green Bull. And he just respawns at Marijawa.
Yep.
Like, he could be, like, top tier fodder, but it's like, also, you know, if he lands a single attack on someone, he can drain their nutrients and one-shot them. Like, oh, dude, this was... Okay, we got to go back to the beginning of this chapter. This was just so much hype. I'm, like, shaking. Oh, my God. The sword stuff is incredible. I don't care about the cover page. It's not important. Okay, so at the beginning of the island, we get the Cross Guild bounty, and we finally get to see what the Cross Guild stars represent, right? How do you feel about Kobe having a 500 mil bounty?
Cracked. That's post-time skip Luffy.
That's post-Dressrosa Luffy.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, they even say it's not because of his strength, it's because of his rep.
Yeah. But also, it's pretty crazy that, like, he's still captain rank, right?
Mm-hmm. And they even said...
5 times
the average...
captain.
So... Okay, I'm going to jump around a bit here because, like, this whole chapter's, like, a beautiful blur to me, right? But they say later on that sword members are people that have resigned. Right?
Yeah.
Do you not realize how impactful that is? That means, like, just think about it. Okay. Anyone in sword, all the people that are in sword that we've seen so far are people that we've questioned whether or not they will get a promotion soon, right? Like, Kobe should be above a captain. You know what I mean? Drake was a Rear Admiral pre-time skip, so we thought he would, like, finish Wano and get promoted to a Vice Admiral. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This makes so much sense because they can't be promoted because they've quit.
True.
They did what Garp did and Sengoku did, where they hold their current title, but they can't be promoted because they've quit formally.
True.
Which means Kobe, after Akainu in Marineford, that means Kobe decided, even though his dream is to become an admiral, he took the moral high ground and quit.
Yeah.
That does so much for his, like, in terms of, like, good character development for him.
Yeah.
Right, and not just him, like, all these, like, dude, the Rear Admiral of this chapter is so nutty. But also, like I'm saying, though, because all these people are members of Sword, you could argue that all of the people in Sword should have higher ranks, but can't.
Yeah, true.
So, like, because they essentially follow the same sort of scheme as Garp, where it's like, their current rank isn't reflective of what they would be in the Marines, because they quit already, and they just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Also, dude, the devil fruits for the Blackbeard Pirates are wild.
Cool. I really like them.
Dude, Alvaro Pizarro having the island fruit.
Yeah. By the way, what I really want to find out if like the anime comes out of this part is like it'd be really funny if he had the squeaky voice as well, and it turns out for some reason the fruit makes you have a squeaky voice,
That
not just naturally you.
that would be funny, but I don't think he's got a squeaky voice. But do you know what is funny about him?
Mm.
He talks like a cat girl. Because he's got the cat theme.
Oh yeah.
So he purrs and meows. So it's like a giant cat cafe sort of island. That like looks heaps rugged and he goes, meow, purr. You know what I mean? So it's not the same as like the soprano voice, but it's still like, what the hell's up with your speech?
Yeah.
But flip side of that, do you know what's actually really weird about this?
Hmm?
It's really hard to gauge how big this island is because we saw it, like when we saw the island well and truly before when we saw Moria, right?
Mhm.
We saw how big this island is compared to Thriller Bark. And Thriller Bark is about a quarter the size of this island. Right?
True.
And remember, Thriller Bark was like huge compared to the Sunny.
Yeah, it was.
But then if you look at the, like, you can see Salmon Wolf sleeping at the foot of the skull later on. But in all these shots, and even when Garp throws his punch, you can't even see Salmon Wolf. So, like, you know how, like, at the end, it's got Garp destroying the buildings with the galaxy impact?
Yeah.
Dude, you can't see Salmon Wolf. So, and, like, Salmon Wolf next to some of these buildings, like, Salmon Wolf is huge, but, like, some of these buildings may be, like, genuinely a lot bigger than people think.
Yeah, right.
So it might be, like, a really odd perspective warp.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
Just like because the buildings are just like very like rugged, cubey sort of ruiny shit. You know what I mean? They may like the buildings may be much bigger than they actually look, sort of thing. So like the defeat's better necessarily than you may think. But yo, dude. Okay, dude, the fucking fruits this arc, like this chapter. I'm blown away by it. So. Alvaro Pizarro is just a better version of Picker. Right?
Basically.
But he's got the island fruit, so now I'm questioning, can he make new islands while they're out at sea?
Ah. I mean, oh boy.
Yo, Kuma,
It's
that
really
you?
interesting as well that like Picker's fruit was like so insane, and then there's also this island fruit as well. It's like it's wild. The world of One Piece would just be like so crazy because realistically, outside of the crazy powerful people that have like supreme haki and insane devil
These
fruits,
would be
like,
some of the
generally
most oppressive
speaking,
fruits.
yeah, if you have this fruit, you just like rule whatever island you're on, basically. As long as there's a lot of stone on that island, you're basically just in charge of it. And there's two of these
Fruits.
fruits.
Yeah.
Wild.
Dude, but like, notice, in, so he assimilates with the wood, with Shiryu, and then he assimilates in the stone to talk to Alvaro Pizarro. So is it any inorganic matter he can fuse with?
Ooh, yeah, right.
Because it's the island fruit. It's like anything that's on land that is
True.
inorganic, he can just become.
Yeah, I guess it's basically just like anything that's attached to
Land.
that you'd consider the island. It would be like a very like vague thing, but yeah.
And, dude, the next thing that's like blowing my mind right now is Vasco Shot having the glug glug fruit. Do you know why that is so terrifying to me?
He's a alcoholic already.
Well, yeah, but dude, just take a moment to think about it. He's writing bubbles, yeah, which is like, okay, whatever. He's writing bubbles. But a glug glug fruit means an alcohol fruit. So is he a Logia?
Ooh.
Is he an alcoholic Logia?
That's true. He actually could be like a drink Logia.
Yeah. Right? And remember how
Because here's the thing: is that he's created like these massive bubbles, and he's like flying around on them.
yeah.
And that's like Logia-esque power.
But we
Like,
don't
obviously
see
it
him.
still could be.
But we don't see him do anything with the fruit itself for himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I really got to point this out here, right? Caribou drowns people with his mud. He could intoxicate people, making them drunk so they can't fight, like poisoning them.
Yeah, true.
And if it's not a Logia, that makes me even more confused about what it is. Because is it just he can control... So is he essentially just like a fish man with water but with alcohol? Or is he like a Logia that can turn into any sort of alcohol and control it? Or by saying he's a Glug Glug fruit user, is it less of a Logia thing and more of a Paramecia thing where he can actually intoxicate people? Because the fruits' naming schemes are based on the onomatopoeia of what they do, right?
Right.
So, like, the glint glint fruit is you control light. The chili chili fruit is you control ice. The rumble rumble fruit is you control lightning. But it's a sound effect of that action, right?
Yeah.
So is the glug glug fruit because he's like a fluid person, or is the glug glug fruit because that's like the onomatopoeia of what happens before people get like intoxicated?
Yeah. To me, like glug glug is like you're drinking, but like specifically you're drinking something alcoholic.
And then Salmon Wolf getting confirmation that he's a giant who ate the gigantification fruit, the big fruit.
Yep.
Now, one thing I will say on this is Oda said in an SBS in the past he's as big as 200 meters, right? So you can arguably pixel scale how big this island is based on that in a way. You know what I mean? But like I was saying, in every other shot this chapter, we can't see Salmon Wolf, even though you can see Salmon Wolf there under the eyes and nose on the right side of the skull. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But just because he's been stated to be 200 meters in the past, doesn't mean he can't get bigger.
Yep.
Imagine having a fight between Gear 5 Luffy going super giant versus Salmon Wolf and grappling. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this chapter has just been so fire. Okay, we get to the Kuma. By the way, good to have you. I can see you floating around in the Discord. Hello, my dude.
All good. Boys.
I love this whole interaction section here as well with Blackbeard trying to become an official king and join the world government.
Yeah.
But I also think it's the dumbest thing. Like, you know how we just talked about how York made no sense wanting to be a celestial dragon because you just know it would never work? And then immediately she got betrayed? I feel like it's the exact same thing here, but the thing I picked up on straight away, which I thought was amazing, was this is the exact same plotline that happened to Wapple, and Wapple and Blackbeard were introduced in the same arc at Drum Kingdom.
Blackbeard more so foreshadowed than well, was he officially?
Well, Blackbeard was first silhouetted and name dropped in Drum Kingdom.
There we go.
So it's like his first canonical appearance. You know what I mean? And it's like his dream is to follow the same thing that Wapple did. But interestingly enough, you know, Wapple's done it twice, where he's been king, and like raised a kingdom up and joined the world government twice. Whereas I genuinely can't see it happening even once for Blackbeard. Like, even if he tried, I feel like the world government would immediately shunt him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, love Aokiji's like little like side eye when Kobe says he's a member of Sword, and how Aokiji's. How do you guys feel about Aokiji at the moment? Do you are people still feeling like he's a spy? Like, are you guys still feeling like he's an undercover agent, or are you feeling like he's just joined the crew?
I mean, at the same time, I'm kind of. It's kind of strange in a sense because Aokiji's low key giving himself away too, in a sense, because he's saying like, all because he's given up everything but name. I don't know. Or I don't know how to articulate this into words.
I would say in that regard, then that means Aokiji's not a sword member.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because I feel like by him dropping that here, like you're saying, it'd be dumb for him to oust himself in that regard. So that means, narratively, he's probably not a sword member, because this would just make them more suspicious of him.
Yeah, and he seemed like genuinely sort of like, like kind of shocked.
Yeah. Well,
although, like, you know, I guess you could argue that like Kobe would have become a sword member after Aokiji left. He wouldn't have known when Kobe joined Sword. But
Kobe would have had to have, because like we were saying before, Kobe's current rank is captain. He wasn't a captain pre-time skip. So after Marineford, Rocky Port incident happens. Aokiji leaves the Marines. Kobe gets promoted to captain. After becoming a captain from the Rocky Port incident, joins Sword, quits the Marines.
Yeah, this might just be sort of like in my own head, but I feel like if someone became a sword member, like if you were already a sword member in the past and then you met someone who was like, oh yeah, I'm a sword member, you wouldn't have like a shocked expression. You'd have like like an intrigued expression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it might just be like how I think they would react as opposed to how Oda thinks they would react.
I feel like if
in my mind, it's like you'd only be shocked if it's like you've heard about sword being a thing, but you've never really met anyone that you knew to be a sword member, and now you finally met someone, you're like, oh, you're a sword member.
To me, this just shows that Aokiji isn't a sword member and never was a part of Sword. And especially when we get to the rundown of the people that were in Sword later, Sword genuinely seems like something that was made by GARP, Tsuru, and Sengoku.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got GARP's apprentice, you've got Tsuru's granddaughter, and I would argue that's what Rosante was a part of. For infiltrating the Don Quixote family. You know what I mean? And then you got people like Drake and that, which is interesting because at this point in time, GARP hasn't officially been stated to be a part of Sword, right? But we know GARP has officially retired from the Marines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could say GARP and Sengoku technically are like the highest authority of Sword at the moment, but they're not official members as far as I've seen. The highest ranking official member we've seen so far is Tsuru's granddaughter, Prince Grass, and Drake, who, if you scroll down here to when Aokiji's talking about who Sword is, you see the silhouettes of Prince Grass, Drake, and then Tsuru's granddaughter. So you could argue that they're actually the highest ranking Marines in Sword.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Which, befittingly enough, like they are also like you can testament that back to these being Marines that were trained by like the likes of Tsuru, GARP, and Sengoku in that regard. You know what I mean? That are like disgruntled with other stuff. Also, there's like a bunch of silhouettes above them, but none of those silhouettes are actual standout characters like the other three. You know what I mean? Also, just a weird thing. Why is there a noose next to Doc Q?
Doc Q?
Yeah. After Aokiji gets his surprised expression, Doc Q sitting in the corner next to Alvaro, there's just a random noose sitting there. Like, is that decorational, or do they use that shit? Like, what?
That's a little dark.
Or is that... Or is Blackbeard into some risque kinky shit?
I Katarina Devon.
Ooh! With this chapter, do you know what that actually does as well? There's only one member we don't know where they are at the moment.
Lafitte, right?
Lafitte and Katarina Devon. Sorry, two.
Yeah, it's true.
Which we also saw a Blackbeard ship pulling up to Egghead.
So they've got the smooth talker and the shapeshifter.
Well, the two best infiltrators on this crew other than Shiryu.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Blackbeard should theoretically, because this is a flashback, Blackbeard should still be fighting Law right now, right?
Yeah.
So if Blackbeard's fighting Law, and the crew's split between the people that we saw with Law, and then the people that are on this island copying at this chapter, that should mean that Katarina and Lafitte are the ones heading to Egghead. Who would be the people that would be best able to infiltrate Egghead as well.
So it's just going to be a mission of espionage then.
Yo, wait a minute! Oh my god. Oh my god, I didn't even realize this was a possibility. They are so screwed.
How so?
Katarina Devon, as far as we know, needs to meet someone to turn into them, right?
Yes. It's like the advanced version of the copy fruit.
Alright. Okay, she could turn into Vegapunk. Okay, fair enough. What if she turns into Saturn and controls the Seraphim?
That would be an awesome twist. Or what happens if Katarina Devon gets a glimpse of the what was it, World Elder who's on their way there?
Yeah, Saturn.
Saturn. Fudge.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting the World Elders are named after planets.
Dude, imagine if she turns into Saturn, and you could even have a moment where you've got a who's who mistake, where because she's like copied Saturn, they have a tussle for a minute, and then they're like, arrest that person, and you can't tell who's who.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be some next level.
But that's what they do. Like, dude, okay, so just at the moment, you know how One Piece is heaps cartoony? Like, it's specifically supposed to be Looney Tunesy at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
How often in Looney Tunes do you get like Daffy Duck fighting another duck or something, and like they start punching each other, and like one of them starts wearing the other one's bill or something like that, and then no one can recognize which one's which?
Okay.
It's-
Crazy analogy.
It's on some stupid cartoon shit like that. Think about that. Maybe that's a random hill to die on, but I'm now kind of like I now kind of want to see that.
I mean, it would definitely be a cool instance. Like if we have we've got Katarina Devon essentially like copying all these high-ranking figures, and then what happens if they end up going back to Mary Joie and it's not Saturn, it's actually Katarina Devon in disguise.
Mm-hmm. And starts laying some plans for ye old Blacketh Beard.
That'd be insane.
That'd be an easy in for them though, wouldn't it? Like, you know how... Okay, who was the most secretive organization pre-time skip? Like, that we knew the least about, sort of thing. That was, like, supposed to be, like, really mysterious. I would argue it was the revolutionaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Burgess, by accident, found the revolutionaries' hideout, yeah?
Sorry, run that by me one more time.
So, no one could find the revolutionaries' base. They were on an island that was, like, unable to be identified.
Okay.
On some laugh tale shit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What if Burgess does that, and then Katarina Devon does essentially the same thing? Because we already know Lafitte's able to break into Marie-Joie casually in front of Sengoku, Suru, Doflamingo, and Mihawk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she could go there as Saturn, try to play it off like nothing's changed, right? Lafitte, like, meets her up there and is like, yo, what are we doing? And they're like, yo, let's bring the Commodore in here.
Okay. Gosh. There's so many possibilities after this chapter. It's mind-blowing.
And we haven't even talked about Big Monkey D. GARP.
I am so happy I put GARP really high on my list now.
Yo, I'm so glad that I still kept strong with how high I had GARP, eh?
God. GARP top 5!
I mean, this is a top 3 Conqueror's Haki feed, isn't it?
It's gotta be, man. Like, and again, he's got no devil fruit, no nothing.
The only things I would put over this is the Bajrang gun and Shanks using his Conqueror's Haki to scare Green Bull,
Hmm.
just in terms of range.
Yeah, because GARP didn't just hit the center, like he hit the surrounding buildings as well, and so we don't know how far it went.
Okay,
Bro, he was like above multiple story
Let's-
buildings by multiple
Okay.
times, and the Rio was coming off of his.
let's cut back to let's jump to the Galaxy Fist for a second here, because
that could like level a modern city.
You know what? I'm just so happy that they pulled off a Sunny Go to get
Yeah,
into the
okay.
air.
Seriously.
I actually now have to drop a crazy theory that I've had for a red hot minute.
All right.
Right? And I've expressed
Lay it
this.
out, bro.
I've expressed this to you once before, Eggs, and I said I know it would be a huge reach, and it goes against so much of the media, but I reckon it would just be cool if it did, right? GARP is doing this to the Blackbeard Pirates, yes,
Yes.
Correct.
and it's a giant shockwave attack, where you see like a big sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna pull this up for a second if I can. Please load for me. I'm gonna have to save the photo. Hang on. No, it's a web file. Damn you. No. Alright, here.
Rip.
Alright.
Gotta turn that into a JPEG, my boy.
Where is the screen blurs? Here we go. I'll unblock this for a second. Sengoku doing the shockwave against the Blackbeard Pirates in Marineford. Alright, I showed that for a second. The reason why I say that is because in nowhere canonically in the manga do they say Sengoku's shockwaves are because of his devil fruit. The only reason we have an idea that the shockwaves come from devil fruits is from video games, and then in data books saying Sengoku is so strong and in his Buddha form he can create shockwaves. There's never an official translation where they say the shockwaves are because of the Buddha fruit. And it's shown. The only difference is it doesn't have the Conqueror's lightning, which we see only post time skip. Right? But if you look at the sphere, it's a similar sort of size, and it's shown the exact same way with internal destruction.
Yeah, I feel like the anime did Sengoku a little bit of a disservice by making it look like it was his pure devil fruit that was going at it. But then again,
Well,
I guess they weren't fully aware of the Conqueror's hockey tidbit yet.
but if you look at those panels side by side, it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? And Sengoku and Garp are stated to be like neck and neck with each other, right? Sengoku was the first Marine to be confirmed to have Conqueror's Haki, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just saying, this is, like, you know how the Marines blocked Whitebeard's Quake by using Advanced Armament Haki, using Rio to, like, defend it?
Mm-hmm.
This is the exact same concept as that, just from their top, like, from the world government's top two that we saw, right? And it's, like, a controlled spherical area that does, like, intense damage to everything inside it. It's essentially, like, a Quake bubble of, like, internal destruction Duraneg. And we don't see the black Haki lightnings with Sengoku. But to be fair, right? We don't know how this, like, you know how Haki's invisible to people?
Yes.
You might still see the shockwave from Garp doing this, but not see the black lightning if you're a regular person.
Yeah, you'd probably see the because it's still it's partly physical power as well, right?
Well,
There's still
I think this is pure emission. I don't think this is anything to do with physical power. I think this is essentially just pure emission.
really.
Yeah, I think this is just pure Haki emission. We don't see like, we see Garp's fist where he's thrown the punch, but we don't see an impact like we do with, like, any other character that throws a punch and then it sends out a projectile attack.
Gosh, man.
This just looks like a pure emission-based attack, and low-key, it's straight up the best Conqueror's Haki attack we've seen in terms of actual, like, skill, because this is the first time we've seen someone emit Conqueror's Haki off their body. without a medium. You know what I mean? Like, you look at the
Yeah.
Conqueror's Haki of the Galaxy Fist, and it's coming from the epicenter of the strike. It's not coming from GARP's fist. Whereas with like Divine Departure, it's coming off the sword. Or with Bajrang Gun, it's coming off the fist. This is straight up Conqueror's Haki emission. So he can just project it off his body and just decide randomly where to like start the attack from off of his body.
Gosh, man, King Elizabello gotta start getting some bigger king punches, man.
Do you know,
Jesus.
this just makes me really curious though, because like, you know how data books and stuff like that, you always got to take with a grain of salt. They can always be
You do.
contradicted and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But like, GARP isn't stated to be the strongest Marine currently. That's
So would we still put Akainu above him?
Ooh, I'm just gonna be blunt. Akainu clearly, none of the admirals have shown any feat on this level,
Exactly.
right? But at the same time, none of the admirals have fought all out, and none of the admirals have also. I gotta be careful with how I word this, right?
You're about to trigger a lot of the community, bro.
The admirals have better skill than the typical Yonko, because their skill comes from a genuine place of training, whereas the Yonko's abilities typically come from just birthright. With the exclusion of Shanks.
Yeah, with the exclusion of Shanks.
But this is on some
Hard-
Shanks shit.
Hard to say though, because the admirals so far, although it's been sort of hinted at and even somewhat directly said that they are like have really good haki and things like that, and they were good swordsmen and stuff in the past. Every time we have seen them, they've been heavily
on their
reliant
fruit,
on their
yeah.
devil fruits.
I don't disagree with that at all. But at the same point in time, the world government is like the only organization that like has top members that just don't have devil fruits.
That's
Mhm.
true.
So it's like, and they also have like, weirdly enough, like the
I
haki
think,
machine.
like-
Of-
Like to for GARP specifically, I think like GARP comes from an era where seemingly it was mostly
Haki.
haki based.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Roger being the strongest or on par as the strongest and being very haki based. Whitebeard we know had crazy good haki, and then you've
Don
got like
Chinzhao as
even
well.
Shiki's ability is like against people like Roger, being able to like turn like the ground into like a lion like he did in the movie isn't actually that good. So I'm assuming Shiki had like really good haki as well. Yeah, it just seems like
Dude.
everyone sort of in those days were just like bosses. And then especially, you know, if Sengoku's attacks are all Rio, then even more haki.
But like, and like the thing okay.
Get your breath, bro. Get
Say
your breath.
Sentomaru, Sengoku.
You said the right one. You said Sengoku.
Okay.
Okay, take a step back and look at this from like a narrative standpoint and like a typical normal story, like the entirety of One Piece as a whole, right?
Okay.
We're in the final saga, obviously, but like, just think about how we've sort of just come out of like, we thought the Supernova were all really strong, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And we were told like they're the worst generation, they're the up and coming rookies, they're so terrible, right? But we were also told they're just playing little pirate games, and we got to we felt it with Kaido and Big Mom, but at the same point in time, it's kind of like, yeah, but they'll grow into that eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The last two chapters was really felt like all those people that are in that range, they're still here. It wasn't just 2 or 4 people. There's a lot of people still in this range that are at that top tier yet. Wano, yeah, we beat 2 Yonkos, but it was still playing little pirate games. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as impressive as it was when like Apu knocked out Luffy for a second, Apu's doing nothing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kaido and Big Mom may very well go down as the weakest Yonko. And I say that because one thing that the story's always been trying to stress that we haven't really seen yet is like the next generation surpassing the old generation. And it's really hard to see that when the old generation has had such a tight grip on not being bitches. You know what I mean? But at that same point in time, if you take a look at who's left in the story, right? People of Luffy's generation, with the exception of Luffy and Zoro, are too early. Right? Like, all the other Supernova essentially lost the race other than Law, Luffy, Kid. And Law and Kid just got taken out for rushing in again too early. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Luffy and Luffy's real rival at the moment, Blackbeard, have been like taking their time doing their own thing, but even they're still a little early in the game. You know what I mean? Like Blackbeard was still like, it's too soon to fight Shanks, even when I got 2 fruits. Blackbeard's still sort of like finessing his way around, sneaking and picking his battles. He's not going straight for heavy hitters, right? But if you take a look from the beginning of the story, from all points of the story up until now, right? You've got Luffy's mentor in Shanks. You've got Zoro's mentor in Mihawk, right? You've got Garp, Sengoku. You've got the Admirals, right? On both sides, Aokiji included. You know what I mean? It's like, we lost 2 Yonko, and it was like, damn, man, they were awesome. But at the same point in time, the 2 Yonko that we lost weren't the people that were set up at the beginning of the story, were they? Right? The people that were being set up from the beginning of the story, you've got Dragon, you've got Shanks, all these other people are coming back into the foreground now, and I think genuinely we're about to start seeing some crazy feats from them. And it's just gonna be more stuff like this. On some true bullshit.
True bullshit, eh?
Yeah. Like, we're at the stage now where it's like, you know how Luffy's Haki blooms? Some people were like, oh, it's ruining the tension, it's bullshit. We're gonna start seeing the people that had Haki blooms for 30 years and who've just been doing nothing for the last 3 years in the narrative, all of a sudden start getting like, oh yeah, it's time for us to power up too. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, probably give him a big kick in the rear.
And I still stand by my like thought process that like Kid's not dead, and that Kid will probably end up coming back post One Piece or at the very end of One Piece, and like in like a time jump later on, or like a post ending of the story, creep up to this level. You know what I mean? But it's like, these are the people that are here right now, and this is the climax, seeing these people do their shit. You know what I mean? Gotta ask, Garp did this, yeah? On a rewind, if Sengoku didn't hold Garp down at Akainu, at Marineford, what do you guys think's happening back then?
Oh, I mean, if Garp was going hard, like if Ace wasn't there, Garp would just
Say Ace had already died, and Garp was like, I'm murdering this man.
Akainu?
Yeah.
I reckon Garp could take it.
With the king hit to the back of the head doing the galaxy fist.
The sneak attack, I reckon he could take him.
Ooh, that feels...
Without a sneak attack, I don't think so. I still think there's the whole old man getting tired.
Oh, dude, I mean, we already know that Garp has... So, okay, I'm very, very, very cemented in this belief. Anyone that's old in One Piece is still at their prime in strength. They never get weaker. They just get weaker stamina. So they can't fight for as long. Right? We see it with Garp saying he can't throw half as many cannonballs as he used to back in Water 7. You have it with Rayleigh going with Blackbeard. It's like, look, I wouldn't be able to last that long against him now. Same with when Rayleigh dealt with Kizaru. You know what I mean? It's a matter of, like, these old people, they never stop being as strong as they are. They stop being able to fight for as long as they can, which takes them out of the running. So, like, if they're not stronger than someone and they're fighting someone that's their equal but has the stamina, they'll keep getting a good showcasing, but narratively, they just lose out on that endurance shit.
I think my take on that is, like, I think it's like they have the same potential feats, as in they don't lose being able to do haki techniques. Like, in terms of, like, for example, if you aged Mihawk to be like 70 years old, he wouldn't be as good of a swordsman. He'd lose a bit of skill. He'd get a bit rusty. If he's been retired for like 30 years. But if he went to do his strongest slash ever, it would be just as strong as when he was in his prime, because his haki doesn't like decrease.
I mean, I pretty much say the exact same thing. Just instead of him being rusty on the swordsmanship, I just chalk it up to, like, he'd get puffed first. Like, if you took 70-year-old Mihawk and threw him against 40-year-old Shanks, Shanks is winning, even though Mihawk's a better swordsman, because Mihawk's getting puffed before Shanks, and Shanks is like, "Oh, you are done, boy! It's game over." You know what I mean?
Like, as an example, like 60-year-old Mihawk versus like 30-year-old Mihawk. I reckon, like, I personally reckon that 30-year-old Mihawk would be kind of pressing him from the start, just because he's more sharp technique-wise. But in terms of, like, clashes, they would be equal. He's not going to be out-clashing him. He's not going to be pushing him back with raw haki. That's my take.
Yo, that panel down the bottom right, where he goes, "Not to mention he's also my irreplaceable prodigy," that is verbatim a panel from Luffy vs. Katakuri.
Yeah.
And I love how much like Luffy he fights. Although, okay, this is going to be a really odd question here, just because of the naming scheme, and maybe it has nothing to do with anything. Galaxy Fist. Odd naming scheme, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just brings me to think of Galaxy Wink. We never got an explanation. We never got an explanation for what Galaxy Wink is. I'm not saying Ivankov has advanced conquerors. I'm not.
I was just about to say.
I'm not. I'm just nipping that on the bud. But I do actually have to ask then, because we obviously see advanced, like, armament haki in this here. Yeah. Could Galaxy Wink be like a type of advanced haki technique? Just based on the naming scheme.
Possible.
Because, like Oda typically tends to name, like, for example, like, you know Luffy's jet punch? Like, the jet pistol.
Yeah.
There's a guy from Skypiea that does the jet punch, where he literally gets the speed dial that boosts him 10 times as fast to punch. And it's shown doing the same thing. And both of them get called jet whatever, like, as their variation, you know what I mean? So it's, like, almost indicative of, like, the naming schemes of his things are like, hey, these are similar techniques. You should pay homage to that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's odd to hear GARP's, like, I never would have picked GARP for having galaxy attacks or celestial-based attacks. Especially since he's supposed to be someone that doesn't like the celestial dragons and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, him having, like, a, that astral physical theme seems weird. But then again, maybe it's because, like, maybe the naming scheme's got less to do with Ivankov and it's got more to do with, like, Sengoku being a heavenly body, being, like, the Buddha. Maybe it's more like these guys are supposed to be, like, seen as, like, above heaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just an odd one. Okay, I've got to go back because we haven't talked about this yet. Prince Gruss and his squelch fruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Prince Gruss has clay fruit. Like, he's able to control clay, right?
Yeah.
That dude that got his head cut off before and they were like, what the hell are you, clay? is that a golem made by Prince Gruss? So the soldiers attacking are just golems made by Gruss? Or is Gruss's ability maybe like an awakened Logia where he can actually turn another person into a Logia?
That'd be pretty wild.
Because I never thought about that, but like when I was reading that chapter and I saw the dude get his head cut off, and I was like, okay, he's a clay Logia, and they even say it, and then we get down, and then it says like Prince Gruss is the clay fruit user, and I was like, okay, and I went back and looked at it, and it goes, that stings. So the golem feels pain. So it's like, it's either he's making a golem and he's controlling it like he's the better version of Cracker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or this is a person that went in, and then, like, when they were about to get hurt, Prince Gruss is able to activate his ability to turn them into clay. In which case, it's almost like he can make a third party a Logia.
Right. I mean, my take from it was that it was a clay golem from the start. I think like because when he got his head chopped off, that golem, they didn't have a name tag of a character, and then they went to the girl and they gave her a name tag, and they went back to him, the golem guy, and gave him a name tag. So to me, they would have given him a name tag if it was someone else, unless it was like one of those weird, like intentionally misleading things.
Well, it could just be because he's actually just like a... Because he was introduced in the Capone cover story. Because he captures... where is it? He captures... So, Tsuru, Prince Gruss, and that dude are present, and they capture Lola. Right?
Right.
And then Prince Gruss, like, Lodif's Grotty. But, like, he has been, like, present. So he's, like a specific thing. So you know how, like, Cracker had a specific style for his biscuit soldiers?
Yeah.
It could be that Prince Gruss always makes... So if you actually have a look, see how they said that there were 3 Marines that were abnormally strong attacking the port? Notice how all of them have, like, an odd Marine jacket where they have, like, a mid-rift and the black sleeve. Mm-hmm. That could just... all 3 of those characters could be golems. And Prince Gruss makes, like, subjects, quote-unquote, out of clay, but you can tell that they're golems because they have that style of clothing.
Yeah, possible.
If that makes sense. Because they're also talking about how they're shooting these golems, or that shooting these characters, and they're not dying or getting hurt.
Yeah.
Because I definitely lean more towards the fact that they're golems than they are, like, he's like an awakened Logia turning them into Logias. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the reason I raise that is because it's like, I've never had that thought, but like, a Paramecia can turn other things into their element. And you know how Luffy could turn Kaido rubber?
Yeah.
I never had the thought of what would happen if a Logia can turn other people into their element.
Oh.
And control it still.
Mm.
You know, like, you know what I mean? How that would be a weird...
God, that's a little... That's a really far... Imagine if you had the fire fruit. You turn somebody into a flame mass, and in order to keep them alive, you have to keep chucking them stuff to burn.
Well, no, like, it would almost be like they are the Logia themselves. So it's like almost like you're giving them your powers for a minute. Is how I'd view it. So it's like, if you're in a fight with, like, someone, like, so, like, say Ace was awakened, and Luffy was going to get shot, and Luffy didn't have the rubber fruit, he turns Luffy into fire for a second. So, like, when the bullets go through, they just go through like they would Ace.
Okay.
And, like, maybe it's not just people. Like, maybe it's inanimate objects and stuff, too. But it's, like, they're their normal state. Like, you know how a Logia uses, like, human, but also always the element?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, where it's, like, an item is always that item, but if you damage it, it becomes the other element.
Dang. It's just crazy to me because this whole clay fruit business, like, essentially, do you think Mr. 3 would be able to do the same thing?
Well, we've seen Mr. 3 do it when he made multiple copies of himself to disguise himself, but he can't control them because
Yeah,
his fruit doesn't allow him to... As far as we know, his fruit doesn't allow him to telekinetically control his wax. The closest thing we've seen to it is when he made his like gondola thing.
Wax armor. Yeah, Wax Champion.
Oh, no, not the wax champion, because even that, he's just coating himself in wax.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sorry, you mean the giant candle set, right?
Yeah, that candelabra, that giant candelabra, it moves independent of him, but you could also say that's because it's like an engineered thing, where he like created something that spins already. You know what I mean? We've never seen him like create a wall, deactivate his ability, the wall's still there, he walks away, and then he controls the ability from a distance, like we have with like people like Cracker.
Okay.
You like it's a weird technicality, but you know what I mean. We've never seen him make like puppets that he can control.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, I really like this. Also, scrolling up, Moria's on the island somewhere in jail. So Moria's not dead yet, I hope. Or does Perona not know?
I hope to God Moria's not dead. he's really good. He's just gotten straight up the boot from Thriller Park.
Well, I'm curious here if in a really weird way, this is about to be a God Valley 2.0.
Ooh.
Because Kobe's even talking about how he's teaming up with pirates. Right?
Yeah.
And if he starts freeing Moria, there could be some other weird people in the cells that we don't know about yet, because they're talking about deeper cells. For example, we don't know where Wang Zhi is, but we know Wang Zhi got defeated by Blackbeard on this island. Right? So maybe we get like Kobe, Wang Zhi, Moria, and the Sword organization versus like the remaining Blackbeard pirates present on the island. Although, I have to say, I'm super nervous about the way that Shiryu is just silently watching everything and not talking this chapter.
Yeah, because he's definitely one of the more observant types.
Yeah, but also he's like a higher up. Like when he was okay. There was a clear betrayal that Magellan was over the likes of Momonga. Right? Back in Impel Down. And Shiryu shares the same sort of title. Shiryu, pre-time skip, was like on the higher end of Vice Admiral. As far as we're aware. Shiryu now, like, we have no idea what he's capable of. He might be on some sly shit where he's going to try and take out GARP. And, like, the fact that he's just sitting there watching plays more into the fact that he's, like, an invisible man now. Because we might have a moment at some point where one or two things happen. You know how I said we haven't seen Katarina yet?
Yep.
Well, Moria, that the Moria that Perona's trying to free could be Katarina Devon right now. Right?
My God.
Or Shiryu could also be on some stealth shit where he's just going to turn invisible, let whatever happens play out, and then at the worst possible time backstab someone. You know what I mean?
Who would he backstab?
A part of me wants to say GARP, but I don't think GARP's going out.
No way.
Like, you can't showcase GARP like this and then get him done in by toothpick.
that would be so sad.
Like, you know what I mean?
All the hype for the Marines would just dissipate after that.
Also, though, just pointing it out again, Prince Gruss, Rear Admiral, Navy HQ, Rear Admiral, Kujaku, Suru's granddaughter, all these sword members that are Rear Admirals, should probably actually be vice admirals right now if they hadn't quit the Marines. And they're all sort of like little prodigies. Like the fact that Kujaku is able to like whip a building and make a building come to life and her control it and tell it what to do is pretty wild.
Do you, honest to God though, do you think it's because it's like tamer fruit, right? So I'm thinking like it's aligned to
Well, it's a whip.
Organic being. So is she actually subconsciously controlling Pizarro?
I think
Like,
only if.
She even said, "Don't give me that face," right? And like a building doesn't have a face.
Well, I think what she's doing, because she's a whip fruit user, I think whatever she whips acts as if it's alive, and she's like an animal tamer, right? And if that's the case, if whatever she's... Oh, which, by the way, makes me nervous in hindsight, because considering we know that the Cross Guild is putting bounties on Marines, she would be really fitting, and her fruit would be really fitting for Buggy's clown operation. Having a lion tamer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But... And I mean, look, think about how fitting that would be. GARP's grandson died, and GARP's prodigy they're freeing here. Sengoku's like grandson prodigy in Rosante died, right? Imagine if Suru's granddaughter gets captured by Cross Guild. Especially if they do something crazy like Cross Guild ends up freeing Doflamingo at some point, and you got Suru trying to come save her granddaughter and going up against Dofi again. Because there's some like interesting sort of thematical connections there, where it's like up until this chapter with her introduction, no one thought Suru had a grandchild, so Suru was sort of irrelevant, right? Even though she was part of the big three. But with her being introduced here, brings almost like a bit of kryptonite to Suru to make her get more active in something.
I mean, I've always, like, I guess Suru is kind of underrepresented, honestly, because she was hyped up to be like this great strategist and everything like that, and Doflamingo was genuinely afraid of her.
Yeah.
When she showed up at
Swallow Island. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So it's always been
I can't help myself. I can't help myself.
You straight up shot off my tongue with that one, bro. I forgot.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
I gotta give it to you though. That was very well placed.
That's just derailed the whole conversation. I'm sorry. Also, sorry, sidebar, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar. Have you guys ever seen Oda's official artwork on if Ace, Luffy, and Sabo became Marines?
No. I think I've seen Luffy. I haven't seen the other guys.
Right. So Oda did a actual coloring of it. Right. It was released as a It's been released as action figures, but it was like an official, like an actual official drawing he did, right? Mm-hmm. Hang on, I'll just pull this up here. This is just me being a semantical little douchebag, right?
Alright.
So I'll unblur it. So in the artwork that Oda did of if Ace, Sabo, and Luffy were Marines instead of pirates, GARP's also depicted as having 2 black blades.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, with the feat this man had at the end of this chapter with the Advanced Conqueror's Haki projection attack, I'm just saying, if this man picks up a sword, he may all of a sudden... Mihawk may not be the only dude walking around with a black blade.
You gotta come out with some dumb shit. Like, he picked up a sword one time for the first time ever and started training with it, and by the end of his training session, it was black.
And he just got rid of it after. He just got rid of it after just because he was like, I don't really like swords.
Yeah, he was like just testing it out.
Yeah, no, but like, that's an interesting thing to point out, isn't it? Especially since we're on the hype GARP up for this week. Last week was Shanks, people were loud. This week it's GARP, we're gonna be louder.
Yeah.
If that genuinely happens, I will just. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how I would react to that, man.
Also, just as a sidebar, I freaking rock with Hibari's design. Like the guerrilla warfare. Her guerrilla warfare and like the tie-in with the Vegapunk cover story. I love it. Right, like she's got the gunpowder that Vegapunk made with Mads that he won the Nobel the Nobel Peace Prize for.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that she can shoot people's bullets and turn their gunpowder into flowers is awesome. Because she's just like a heavy support character for neutralizing stuff. And we do not have enough cool snipers in the story.
No, we don't. Versus Usopp?
Well, this actually brings back an interesting point here. The Blackbeard crew is divided. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you guys think if this continues? Is Blackbeard returning home to a destroyed island where everyone's been defeated? Or is Blackbeard coming,
back? If anything, what does Aokiji do here?
Ooh.
We also have to consider, Aokiji might still be on this island. He's got a...
No, because we saw in flashback that they'd already had... So in the flashback, Kobe's on the island and all the crew's here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we know in present time, Aokiji captured Pudding.
Oh.
And is with Blackbeard holding Pudding captive.
Okay.
Which also means if everyone here breaks out now, when Teach gets back, the only prisoner Teach is going to have is Pudding. Whereas...
Yeah, go ahead.
Whereas the thing that's kind of nerve-wracking here, right, is... Say GARP, months the island and they start escaping, right? And then Blackbeard shows up, so he's a messed up island. And he's like, whoa, we got to go after him. I got to get my payback on him. Do you know what I could see happening? I could see them using, them waking up Salmon Wolf and using him as the battleship to, chase down GARP's ship.
That'd be cool.
All the commanders are riding Salmon Wolf. Right? And you have Aokiji freeze the ship. Freeze GARP's ship. But, not the whole ocean, just a small area so Salmon Wolf can catch up. Right? And you have a moment where maybe, Kobe has to stay behind or something like that, even though he's just being escaped here. You might have a moment, you know how this whole chapter is about him putting his life on the line for the prisoners and the citizens?
Yeah.
You might have a moment where he does something similar, where he sacrifices himself for Pudding.
Oh.
Because, on a weird note, only Zoro and Luffy have a connection with Kobe, right? That, in a weird way, could make Sanji very, connected with Kobe as well. You know what I mean? There's some interesting potential there for it as well. Also, what I'm curious about as well is how if Alvaro Pizarro's fruit works differently to Pika's fruit. If we tell he's the entire island. Right? So we don't see him being him at the moment. He's just in the ground. But he was also talking earlier about how his chest was tickling. So when he's in the island, he feels everything happening to the island.
Oh god, he just took a galaxy fist to the gut.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, because it's also in the center of the island, so I'd assume that would be like Avalo Pizarro's stomach.
Yeah.
The man just took GARP them. Oh
But
god.
we may be about to find out if this fruit works very differently to
Pika's rock fruit?
Yeah.
What if it's actually a Logia that we're all assuming it to be a...
It's like the Earth Logia sort of thing.
Yeah.
It very well could be.
Yeah,
Very
right.
well
It's like the Logia version of Pika's fruit, essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's like, instead of him turning into a specific like stone like Pika, or like assimilating stone, he can turn into like anything that's on the island sort of thing. But like, if he does it when he's just in his normal human form, it could be more like Capone's fruit, where he just turns into like a stone person for a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
dying
yeah.
cockle.
I'm curious. Tashigi's here, and so Tashigi and Helmeppo are here with Garp, right?
Yes.
But we didn't focus on them. Where the hell is Smoker at the moment?
Smoker is pals with Aokiji.
Yeah. But Smoker also isn't a member of Sword. But if you pay attention, Tashigi wasn't a member of Sword, but she's here now. When the orders were for her to go to Egghead. So, Tashigi may have just resigned and joined Sword.
Interesting.
Whereas Smoker...
I'd say if that happens, Smoker's gotta have done it too.
Well, we haven't seen Smoker in a while.
Yeah, but our boy
In
can't.
a good while.
But we don't know what sort of situation or circumstance he's been in. Like, last we saw him, he was healing up after Dofi like munted him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so gosh.
We like without being a smart ass here, we genuinely don't know where he is, what condition he is, and what he's doing.
But he's like fairly main in terms of the Marines, so surely he's not just gonna be like hunted out.
Well, the Marines could be doing something to sort of try and capitalize on his power or something at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, he could be under some, like, Akainu tutelage or something, even though he's got, like, a polar opposite mental...
Personality.
Yeah, mental sort of fortitude for him. Also, while I'm on it, right, I've done cross-guild bounties on TikTok and stuff like that. I've talked to you guys about them before. I've put it up in the Discord. How do you feel about the cross-guild bounties and Kobe being 500 mil?
Deserved.
You reckon it's deserved?
I genuinely, I don't know, because this whole I know the details of the Rocky Port incident, how it was initiated by Trafalgar Law. It's just that Kobe happened to get all the credit for it. But I'm just wondering how quote unquote impactful this Rocky Port incident was. Like,
Well, this chapter
No,
does it not sort of imply that the Rocky Port is the port here on Hajinosu?
yeah, I know. That's what I mean. It's like, so how? I guess I'm trying to like. How far did the Rocky Port incident actually go in terms of like recognition and everything like that? Because if Kobe's being given 500 million berries right off the bat, that's already better than the majority of pirates who entered the New World first thing.
But it's also fully based on reputation. Like,
Yeah.
Kobe's Hero of the Marines title here is like if Luffy set out from East Blue and the first report they got of him is he's the grandson of Garp and the son of Dragon. Like, I think he's definitely not up to the 500 mil mark yet. Not to say that he can't creep up to it very soon. Like, for example, right, 500 mil is what the Law and Luffy got for being Dofi.
Yeah.
Right? But what it does sort of show is we're not getting like really low bounties for Marines. Like, they gave a good gauge that a captain is around 100 mil. So that means Tashigi's a captain, so Tashigi would be around 100 mil. Right? Which sort of makes sense because I would have Tashigi over the likes of like Gotti and Vito and Suleiman, you know what I mean? Those 70 mil sort of ranged cats. Then up from there, we've got the Commodore. Commodore, I think we've seen clearly mess around with people on the cusp of 200 mil. Like, Smoker got promoted to a Commodore after getting the credit for having taken out Crocodile at Alabaster. And Oda said Crocodile's bounty would have been at least 162 mil. Right?
Yeah.
And you've also got Commodore Yajisui, who's taken out Garubu and Karibu, who are 190 and 210 mil respectively. And then like the next jump up, like a little bit over that 200 mil range, is like Drake at 222 mil, who was a rear admiral, which would be sort of in this same pocket as like Prince Grass and Kujaku here. Before we start getting to say maybe like the 300 mil range and above, which would be like vice admirals, who would be the equivalent of like Peckhams and Tomago and shit like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just this bounty system is relatively new, so it's kind of hard to gauge where people really should be and where people really shouldn't.
Yeah,
I'd imagine though that like, gosh, do you guys honestly think that Akainu has one?
I think all the Marines of note are going to have one, which is why I think the biggest thing that we're about to see here is, you know how they talked about how Blackbeard's plan was to use the fact that Kobe is a hero to become a world government recognized state, yeah?
Yes.
Well, who just showed up at the end of the chapter?
I will check that out. Who just showed up at the end of the chapter?
Monkey D's GARPs.
Oh yeah.
The literal hero of the Marines, so world famous that he's the most famous Marine in the world.
Mm-hmm.
If Kobe...
He was even famous before Roger entered the picture as well.
If Kobe wasn't enough to get into the world government, Blackbeard may try to use GARP.
Oh no, don't give Garp the L this early. No.
Well, I'm not giving him an L. He can get snuck, right? On some underhanded tactic stuff. But I mean, we literally just got through Aokiji saying like Kobe's not going to be enough for you to achieve what you want to achieve. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But with Garp, we even know the Celestial Dragons would have eliminated Garp by now if it wasn't for the fact that he was the hero of the Marines. They just can't make him disappear. Right? If the world...
Yeah, he's too much of a linchpin.
He's too much of a political figure. So Garp here, if Garp gets captured here, the world government may have to step in and either subject themselves to the demands or take out this island. So in that situation, what do you think we're looking at? Like, do you see it more as the world government goes, we wanted to get rid of him, now's our perfect chance to just let him die off? Or, like Aokiji and Blackbeard said, too famous.
Yeah, we can't, like... Oh my gosh, what do you even do with these guys?
Look, I love how Oda takes characters that we didn't necessarily know, like, the plots for and, like, what their purpose is. And he throws them in situations that were like, really? And every time it's always just like, shit, where could this lead? There are so many possibilities. And, like, he always picks an odd choice that just works. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know about you guys, but, like, I mean, you know, Galaxy Fist, chef's kiss. But, like, you know how in chat we were talking about this before with Ged, right? This is just essentially Whitebeard's Quake, yeah? the Galaxy Fist. And Blackbeard's got the Quake Fruit right now. And I mean, making matters a little more like sus and skeptical, I've got my own little headcanon at the moment, which I can't vindicate, but it's just like my own little mindset at the moment. You know Advanced Conqueror's Haki?
Yes.
We have never known someone to have Advanced Conqueror's Haki that wasn't already fighting other people with Advanced Conqueror's Haki. And what I mean by that is, we don't have an instance of someone in the story who just had Conqueror's Haki and then developed Conqueror's Haki without ever being in conflict with the Conqueror's Haki user using Advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? Like, you can trace it back to, like, Kaido used Advanced Conqueror's Haki on his Thunder Bagua, hit Luffy. It was only after Luffy had been hit by the Advanced Conqueror's Haki a couple of times that he realized it's something he could do with his Conqueror's Haki. You can argue the same thing for Yamato in her childhood, right? Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard, Shanks, Roger, Garp, Rayleigh, you could argue all have had it since God Valley. Where Rocks would have arguably had Advanced Conqueror's Haki. And what I'm meaning by that is, like, maybe you can't use Advanced Conqueror's Haki until you've been hit by it. Because it's not something someone can put into words for you to learn how to do. You kind of got to feel it out.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah, like, it'd be hard to, like, figure out, like, Perception Haki, for example, unless, you know, Rayleigh puts a blindfold on you and starts smacking you in the head.
Yeah. Whereas we also know Conqueror's Haki isn't something you can directly train.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that as an interesting point is you've got Garp, arguably, who'd be one of the best Conqueror's Haki users literally here right now. And we've got Blackbeard, someone that no one knows whether or not he's got Conqueror's Haki.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a high diff fight for Blackbeard to unlock Advanced Conqueror's Haki himself. And arguably anyone on his crew that may have Conqueror's Haki as well. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be sort of fitting. Like, for them, like, you know how, like, at the moment Blackbeard is in, like, the Neverland between, like, being really brokenly powerful and also a bitch?
Yeah.
Well, who's a better Haki XP boost than Garp? You know what I mean?
Oh,
The tough
God.
thing with
Teach
Blackbeard
ends
is
up
just that...
Teach ends up blowing up the place with a new Conqueror's Haki Darkness Quake fusion. I'm just gonna cry.
Well, I mean, the Conqueror's Haki itself almost looks like a black Hakied Quake. Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, aesthetically it would suit him.
The problem with Blackbeard is that, like, he's got so much raw power in his kit. Thing that's making him seem like a bitch is that we keep seeing people get the drop on him and actually doing damage and, like, overpowering him and things like that.
Yeah.
So, like, adding, like, an armament Haki feat to him, to me, is like, I don't really know if that's necessary, because you could pretty easily just say, even if he's, like, fighting, like, Luffy, who's using, like, Conqueror's Rio,
you could still
just
use
say,
Quake.
Quake equals that out.
Yeah.
To be fair, Blackbeard already has an armament Haki feat when he
Shanks.
blocked that sword.
And yeah, true. But that's a regular armament Haki feat. I'm talking some advanced Duraneg bypassing sort of shit. Because at the moment he's got nothing. At the moment he's got like, if you can do something to equal out the Quake, so Luffy uses Advanced Conqueror's Haki to block the Quake, right? They could arguably equal each other out. Blackbeard wouldn't be pulling out of his Haki to use to clash with that equally. Luffy would have to be. So Luffy would be, like, getting drained more, but at the same point in time, you would argue if you got hit by one of them, one might do more damage to you because of the internal destruction. Even though they physically, like, equal each other out, one might have, like, an added status effect. You know what I mean? Like in RPG terms, it's like one applies bleed and one's just the damage.
Yeah.
And it's also like interesting where it's like Whitebeard is the best. Whitebeard and Kaido are the best examples for the tankiest characters we've seen, right?
Yeah, in a sense, yep.
Like Whitebeard's whole gunshots, cannon shots, stab wounds, half of his face looking like a beast, standing up. Kaido based on just literally copying attacks from everyone for a whole night. What we don't really talk about is like Shock Willie put Big Mum almost out of commission, right?
Yeah.
Blackbeard took that, but Blackbeard also feels double pain. And he handled it better than Big Mum.
So is Big Mom now the weakest Yonko?
Well, not necessarily the weakest, but like in terms of the durability, like stuff can hurt Blackbeard that wouldn't hurt Big Mum, but Blackbeard has a higher pain tolerance than Big Mum, and that's saying a lot. You know what I mean?
These are some very, very spicy takes.
Well, you got to remember, Blackbeard copped quakes to the face from Whitebeard. Like, Whitebeard literally pinning him on the throat, quaking his throat. Tanked that. Got up. Sengoku does a shockwave to him, tanks that. Proceeds to fight Sengoku and Garp. Tanking whatever the shit that was, right? Then Law, using his awakening, gets multiple hits off on Blackbeard. And Blackbeard immediately recovers from them. None of that's his devil fruit, and he takes double pain. Like, he's handled attacks that put characters out of commission as if it was just another day at the office. And yeah, he gets loud about it. He'll go, that hurt, but he gets back up like nothing.
True. He was still duking it out with Ace despite taking all that fire damage.
Yeah. So, like, Blackbeard sits in a very unique spot where it's like, he's a bit of a hypochondriac, almost. Because of the pain.
He's essentially, like, he's as powerful as Oda wants him to be in certain situations.
I don't necessarily need Blackbeard to be the strongest, because what he's got in his arsenal now is enough, and it's interesting enough to have to combat it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, having Garp here, there's one of three things that'll happen here, right? Garp comes here, Garp wins. Garp takes people that here back home. Right? If that's the case, we might find out what Moriya's updated bounty is. Because we know that the Warlord's got updated bounties, right? So maybe Garp arrests...
Moria? I mean, he's kind of been out of the picture for a good while.
Maybe...
And even when he was introduced, again, he didn't really get an increase.
Maybe... Well, yeah, but when he was reintroduced, it was before the Warlords were abolished. And it was his first appearance in 2 years.
Fair.
So, they didn't know he was, like, alive. Like, even Doflamingo at the end of the war was like, he must have died or something. He just vanished, man. I got nothing. When it was Absalom that turned him invisible and got him out of dodge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Moriya here, Perona's begging Kobe to save him, right? But they may free him from here, but then Garp might just arrest him. So they could go here, free the people that are here, cause a bit of damage, arrest Moriya, leave. Moriya gets arrested, and we get like an updated bounty of what his bounty would be. Then you've got Moriya, Doflamingo, and Weevil in Impel Down. 3 really well-known, interesting heavy hitters in a dark area where their abilities could go absolutely wild.
I mean, you gotta think about it too. Like, Moriya's fruit just excels when there's a bunch of fodder around.
Which
Impel Down would
down.
probably be one of the worst places you could put him, honestly.
Yeah. So, like, you could be doing a heap more to set up something really interesting happening there. You know what I mean? Whether it's a breakout or a break-in or just whatever. Because we also know, like, something that we haven't really had addressed, right, is Morley made level 5.5 of Impel Down, but Morley also escaped Impel Down. So there's a tunnel from Impel Down out of Impel Down to freedom. Somewhere in Impel Down, there is an exit. It just hasn't been discovered. Like, it's an odd thing, but it's like, it's there somewhere, you know what I mean? And then, like, Dragon's got to do something, and Cross Guild's got to do something at the moment, right? Cross Guild could come to back up here. So say one of these people here put out a call to Cross Guild off screen during this chapter, saying we've captured Kobe. Come to Hajinosu and we'll collect him. We'll collect the bounty, right? Cross Guild could have some delegates that show up, being like, okay, we're here, only for GARP to be here, and it be a frenzy on capturing GARP.
Oh gosh.
And I mean, like, there's so many possibilities. Because, okay, possibility number one, right? GARP just gets in, gets the job done, we escape, and based on this chapter, Moria gets freed. Right? Option number two, third party comes, interferes, GARP gets sidelined and eventually defeated. Right? Option number three, which could be a little wild, Blackbeard returns, Blackbeard beats GARP in a high diff battle, and then Blackbeard uses Moria, forces Moria to resurrect GARP as a fresh corpse to fight for him.
So are you insinuating that GARP would die here?
Well, I think that's one of the possibilities. I wouldn't like it, because I like GARP. You know what I mean? But...
What if... Oh my gosh. What if we have... No, what happens if GARP, I don't know, is somehow knocked unconscious? Just somehow. Just somehow. And then Moria is forced to take sides, right? And he chooses Kobe because he's definitely more trustworthy than Blackbeard. What if Moria ends up teaming up with Prince to create a clay copy of GARP in his prime?
That'd be cute. That'd be awesome. Flip side, you know how I was saying Shiryu turns invisible and sneaks GARP?
Yes.
Scratch that. Shiryu turns invisible and holds his sword to Kobe's throat. What does GARP do?
He wails on him.
Does he? What if Shiryu cuts Kobe's head clean off? Because GARP would know Shiryu's capabilities, being the former head of Impel Down.
Yeah, he also knows that Shiryu's not a really, quote-unquote patient guy when it comes to death.
Yeah, so, like, GARP may actually be like, shit, I gotta surrender for a second. There's a lot of wild possibilities here. I mean, what happened to Odin and Kaido when Odin thought that Momo got captured, and then Kaido...
Oh, man, yeah.
Katarina Devon turns into Kobe.
By the way, a weird theory that I had. Kobe's running around with the ball and chain still attached to him.
Yep.
Yes.
Weight
And also,
train.
he's not really doing anything that's like that impressive.
Ah.
He's just kind of running along the street. What if he has a fruit? And that's sea stone. That's why he can't get it off of him. And that's why he's not like just kicking everyone's ass.
He's
just surrounded by fodder.
Kobe has a devil fruit?
It very well could be that he's gotten a devil fruit. The only thing I say against that is if he's gotten a devil fruit, it has to be since the reverie, since he swam before the reverie.
Yeah. Like,
but he very well recently could have gotten a fruit.
he's like, why else would he just be running around with this thing still around his neck? Just rip it off. Just snap the chain. If he was literally snapping steel swords with his bare fingertips.
The reason would be
start of the series.
The reason would be because Kobe's, and I'm using air quotes here, quote unquote, because Kobe is a little bit of he's arrogant, but he's humble. Like, if you notice, every time we see Kobe, he does something and he thinks really arrogantly, and then he immediately tries to humble himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it might be a matter of, like, he's probably capable of shattering it, because we've seen in, like, specials and stuff like that, him shatter giant stone, like, sorry, not giant metal balls with, like, a finger pistol, right? So, like, and that's stuff Oda okayed. So you got to be like, okay, he's capable of it. You know what I mean? So why doesn't he do it here? And it's like, he may be capable of it, and he's just like not doing it because he's trying to make himself like an interesting target to help the citizens escape. Like he's purposefully humbling himself here and not breaking out so that these guys chase him. I know that's
So he's essentially becoming the best deceiver in the entire verse.
yeah, he's a great pretender.
It's like, hey guys, look, I'm over here, I'm vulnerable. Then he goes, boom.
I don't know. He like, you got to admit he's a little weird like that, isn't he?
That was a wee bit of a weak character.
Also, flip side, right? This has also just made me realize that Alvaro Pizarro may be like the top 3 strongest characters on Blackbeard's crew. Because, okay, this is him on Hajinosu. What happens if he was on Alabaster?
Oh.
He just becomes a continent.
Ooh.
What happens if he gets to the red line?
Damn.
Because we see...
Will Alvaro Pizarro be the one to split the red line?
Well, we see here he can feel everything that's happening on his island, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if he gets into the red line on some crazy shit? Like,
it's just this island fruit. It's so vague, right? Like it's really vague because I feel like we might have some bias because we've already seen what Pika's capable of, so we might be basing it off of what he can do, right?
but I feel like that's the point as well.
Yeah.
It's
Love that
supposed
vague.
it's supposed to be vague, but it's also like, you know how devil fruits have a superior. So you've got like the snow fruit Logia, and then you got Aokiji's cold fruit. You've got Dazbones' sword fruit, or Baby Five's arms fruit, which does everything the sword fruit can do, but it also has guns and missiles. You know what I mean? It's like, I just see this as like that version for Pika's fruit, where, oh, you thought Pika's fruit was cool? Okay, now let you see a character that can do it with everything. And it still probably has more stuff on top of it. Like, what would the awakening of this fruit be? Like, just think about that. If you can become everything, what would the awakening of that be? You just become Ego, the living planet?
I don't even want to know what the awakening is for this one, man. That's pretty tough. Like how do you go farther up than what we already have necessarily?
Exactly. Like this is where shit starts getting like, oh crap again. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you could have him rearranging continents, because they say in this chapter that he normally, like, he would have stopped this by just like changing the island and crushing something like Pika, but then Teach would have been upset that he changed stuff, because he would have caused too much damage.
Vasco shot too, because we don't know how far his, because Vasco says that he can burn the entire city down if he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So how gosh, we don't even know the potential with him.
I mean, he probably, like I said, if he's a liquor Logia, he probably just floods a place and lights it on fire.
Dang.
Like, it'd be no different to like Aokiji's Ice Age, but just like alcohol, and then poof. Which, also, I love the fact that he's got the liquor fruit, because that means Saruman Wolf can actually get a drink. The poor giant.
Aw. There we go. They're best buddies now.
Yeah. Blackbeard crew looking hella stacked. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this right now, and I'm like, that's strong fruit. Like, how are you feeling about the strong fruit compared to GARP's fist at the moment, eggs? Because I know we talked about this in the past.
Oh no, here we go.
Oh, I mean, GARP's fist is Harky, right? So it's
Yeah. It's not this. It's not lifting strength. Like I get
it's really hard to tell, but that's the thing is that like the buff fruit is like a force amplifier, right? So
Yeah.
like you give the buff fruit to GARP right now, he's going to be absolutely fucking ridiculously cracked.
Especially when we don't know what the upper limit of the buff fruit is. Like the first thing we got to see with the lifting of the mountains, that's impressive, but it's not. It could be better. But seeing that someone like Evaro Pizarro can turn into an island, I'm now wondering if we're going to see Jesus Burgess flipping islands on some Saitama serious table flip shit. You know what I mean? Like,
It'd be good if he was geppoing around and someone's like, "Oh, when did you learn how to skywalk?" And he's like, "What do you mean skywalk? I'm just kicking the air really hard. I'm strong."
yeah, that would be funny. That'd definitely be funny. Yo, wait, oh, King, oh, yo, dude, Alumbus. You know how Alumbus bowled Zoro and Zoro cut down Picker? The Straw Hats. Ooh, I just accidentally activated my chair then. The Straw Hats, right? Are running away from the Blackbeard pirates. And Burgess picks up a Valero Pizarro and throws the island. And as soon as he hits the target, he assimilates it as to part of the island. Imagine how crazy that would be. Because then you'd genuinely... Okay. We have all the Blackbeard pirates except for one knowing what their devil fruits are now, yeah? The only devil fruit we don't know is Lafitte's. Right? How are the matchups going to look for the Straw Hats right now?
Ooh, yeah, I know you posted this question in the Discord earlier. I just never got around to actually answering it.
Because, I mean, last we saw, even Zoro struggles against someone like Pizarro. Just because of how tricky it is. Is there a...
Yeah, that's the thing, though, because I do want to see a change in dynamic where Zoro's not just fighting a straight-on, like, brawler or brute, right? Like, I want to see Zoro, like, struggle with a tactician. So, could you imagine Zoro going up against, oh my gosh, I've already forgotten his name. What's the...
Shiryu?
What's the sniper?
Van Olga.
Yeah, could you imagine Zoro versus Van Ogre?
What, you know how I've said in the past, what if Zoro and Sanji swap opponents? That'd be interesting. This fruit here, what if Sanji was the one to fight Picker? What if Zoro was the one to fight Absalom? What if Jinbei fought, someone that was just super buff? I could see it, how it's not like a typical, like, first, second, third strongest matchup sort of thing. And it's like a callback to them fighting people that they've already beaten, but they're swapping the opponents.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Because Sanji versus Bon Clay would essentially be the, like, what if someone fought Mr. 2? But it's like Katarina Devon changing into someone. So, like, who would be the next... Like, who would be the person out of the Straw Hats at the moment to be the next hardest person to, like, fight someone? Like, is there someone in the Straw Hats that would struggle fighting someone that looks like someone else? Because do you know what would be? Do you want to be a really good callback? Nami was Nami was found on a battlefield, right?
Yeah.
From a pirate war. Imagine if Nami was fighting Katarina Devon and Katarina Devon's like, "You're so pretty," and like Katarina Devon's just like swapping between random faces because we don't know how long she's had a devil fruit. She could have had a devil fruit well before the time skip in that, right? Yeah. What if she turned into Bellamere? and it turns out she was the person that like destroyed Nami's original village. And Nami was struggling to fight Bellamere.
This is going deep into tinfoil hat territory.
No, but like if all the members have an ability that a Straw Hat has had to try and overcome, or is like the Royal Rumble what if situation, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Because
I'm definitely on you with how it would be really interesting. It's just, gosh, man.
because like if Ivalo Bizarro is kind of like if Ivalo Bizarro is like Jinbei and like fights with like alcoholic fishman karate, right? You could have like what happened if Jinbei fought Frankie or Brook versus Jinbei. You know what I mean? And just have some really weird matchups. Like Frankie's biggest thing is his lasers, right? That's his best attack. What happened if Frankie fought Jinbei but couldn't use his lasers, because if he used the lasers he would light up fire because it's alcohol?
Oh.
Right? Like Brook can run on water, but can Brook beat Lafitte, who can fly in the air? Like, can Brook run through the air and fight? There could be some really interestingly weird matchups. You could have a battle of ideologies between Robin and Kizaru, where like, you know how Kizaru was like, I'm gonna have to, not Kizaru, Aokiji, where Aokiji was like, if you haven't found a family, you're too dangerous to be left alive, I'll have to end you. You could have Robin being like, if it turns out you've turned into a bad person, I'm gonna have to end you for the betterment of society. Saul wouldn't want his like friend to turn evil. And we already know Robin's got some contingency plans because of Crocodile on how to deal with Logias.
Gosh, bro.
Like Chopper, obviously, like Chopper and Usopp versus Doc Q and Van Orga would be something as simple as like a doctor that makes people sick, let me take him on, and a sniper that doesn't take good shots, just teleports around, and you've got to like outplay them. Those are very simple. They're not so much like matchup switch ups, but they're like, ooh, okay, that still goes against like that's still an interesting character dynamic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could totally see that.
And what, is that everyone? I think that's everyone.
I think so.
Because I remember, like going back and looking at Picard, I was like, I feel like Sanji would have had an easier time beating Picard than Zoro did, because Sanji's observation haki would have meant he didn't need to wait for Picard to go into a piece of stone. He just would have known what piece of stone he was in.
Yeah. Pika would have, Sanji would have definitely had a more... Because it wasn't the matter of fact of Zoro having a quote-unquote tough matchup with Pika. It's just, he just really just couldn't find him.
Whereas, like, in this situation, it's not a problem about finding him. It's just like, how would Sanji deal with having to use big area of attack AP? Like, because like Zoro, like the difference would be like Zoro versus Picard was Zoro didn't have the observation haki to just find him and one shot him, whereas Sanji in this situation was, my attacks are more finesse based and I have to get multiple attacks out. Do I have enough DC to destroy a huge area of stone so I can get at him and beat him? You know what I mean? I don't know. I find the dynamics based on this chapter and their fruits being like, ugh. Like, the only one we don't really have an answer for would be like Salmon Wolf, right? But I mean, even that, Salmon Wolf, you could have Salmon Wolf versus Frankie. And like, you know how Frankie's bounty poster at the moment is the Sunny?
Yep.
You could have Battleship versus Battleship. Like, imagine Frankie on the Frankie motorcycle driving all over Salmon Wolf's body on some God of War shit versus like a Colossal Titan.
Yeah, because I don't know, that moniker, Colossal Battleship, I always like... Was it just literally slapping it in our faces how we're going to have a throwdown on San Juan Wolf's back?
Well, like, imagine if Frankie's, like, driving around, like, Frankie's, like, swapping between the different docking systems, driving around someone's body, trying to get to his head to do, like, some serious damage, and he's just, like, slapping his arm trying to beat Frankie, and Frankie's just jumping from, like, section to section.
Or he's just riding on his motorbike with Brooke. Like, an interesting fact would be, do you think it would be easier for Brooke to handle San Juan Wolf? Because Brooke detects your soul directly, and so it doesn't matter how much mass you put on.
At
No?
this point in time, Brooke can low diff anyone that doesn't have great haki. Because we saw him literally fly his soul through people and freeze them solid. So, Brooke could just, like, go limp and fly through someone Wolf and just freeze him from the inside out. So, like, it makes it hard. It makes it hard to see what's going to be what.
Brooke top 20.
Okay, I gotta ask. The rear admirals, are they looking more impressive at the moment? Because at the moment, I'll pull up a list of all the Marines. At the moment, the current rear admirals. Elmo's World. Where are they?
Oh man.
The current rear admirals are Sicily, Akahandre, Katakomo, Hina, T-Bone, Kadar, Prince Grass, Kujaku, and technically Drake. So at the moment we've got like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 9 rear admirals at the moment, and I will say they are looking more interesting as time's going on. Also, weirdly enough, this chapter, because he's a member of Swords, kind of hurts my head canon. But like, do you have any idea how badly I really wanted Helmeppo end of story to become a captain? Helmeppo never needs to rise above captain. I just want him at the end of the series to be a captain and for him to have surpassed his father with Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's fitting. I'd also really love, because at Django's the same rank, Django needs to come clean to Helmeppo that Morgan isn't a bad guy, that he hypnotized him.
Oh.
Because that could change a very emotional dynamic.
That could.
You know what I mean? Because like, I feel like 2 things at the moment that I'm waiting to happen in the story is Kobe, especially now that he's the hero of the Marines. Imagine when Kobe captures Alvida.
Yeah.
And like
He kicks her with the finger flick because he's become so OP.
Alvida is like talking about like, you were just a cabin boy on my crew. You ingrateful little squelch, this and that and the other. And he's like, yeah, I've heard all this before. I'm bringing you in. You know what I mean? That
You got your impel down cell already locked and numbered.
That would be some beautiful full circle there. You know what I mean? And then
Totally approve that.
and then with Helmeppo, I want Helmeppo end of the story to capture Morgan, because Morgan escaped the Marines. We don't know where Morgan is. Morgan's just floating around somewhere in East Blue. So it'd be really cool to see Helmeppo go back and capture Morgan. And then he's like, you know, I can fix you. We can reunite. You know what I mean? And then like, Morgan's biggest complaint was always like that Helmeppo was a bit of a sook. But Helmeppo's really sort of come into it. You know what I mean?
Helmeppo's definitely evolved.
Oh, okay. going for 2.5 hours. Let's wrap this up by talking about theories for next chapter since next week's a break. What do you guys think's gonna happen next chapter? Bait?
I want to say that we're finally going to get some proper Marine representation.
Honestly? Do you know what I kind of see happening? I kind of see us cutting back to Law versus Blackbeard.
Okay.
Blackbeard getting notified about what's happening on Hajinosu. And whatever condition Law's in. Before Blackbeard starts to head back here. And then we cut away from this and we go back to Egghead.
Okay.
I feel like after that, we'll have one chapter in Egghead. And then another chapter with just someone really random, like Mihawk or Dragon. Because what kind of feels like it's happening at the moment is we're getting like a little bit of Egghead. Now let's cut away for a chapter and 2 chapters. And then come back to Egghead. And let's cut away for a couple of chapters. And then let's go back to Egghead. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's only... Like, in a weird enough way, I feel like we're going to be getting a lot more setup. Still. Which, can we just talk for a second about how awesome like One Piece has been since Wano ended?
I know, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, it really twists the knife into Wano, doesn't it?
Oh god, like I really do. This is the ultimate take with a grain of excessive salt because Wano was hyped up to be like this amazing spectacle, but it just
Didn't.
I'm sorry if I must say it did not land well for me.
It
Didn't hit, no.
See, I think it was great,
It was,
but it
but
could
we
have
did not
been...
get the payoff we were promised.
It could have been greater. Greater.
Yes.
Like, you can't tell me we got the Yonko and Pirate King's bounty. We got the Odin flashback, which to me was phenomenal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You got Joy Boy, Gear 5, Nika, all that. But yet, we still fumbled. Like, how did we leave that country and not know what's on the poneglyphs there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is... And I get it, because we're trying to keep it a mystery. But at the same point in time, it's like, you can't let us know about something and not pay it off on screen for us. You can't just keep off-screening stuff and, like, do us dirty like that. You know what I mean?
It's like the very short what is it? I was really hoping for a little bit more
Oomph.
not necessarily just oomph, but with how many people actually had ties in Wano, I was expecting there to be a lot more quote unquote like backstories. Not in a sense where like
We needed an extra volume spread across the entirety of Wano on a bit more focus on some people's, like, emotional stakes. Because, I'm not gonna lie, I was invested for a lot of reasons, but it didn't feel like other people were invested.
no,
Right?
That's my issue.
From things like, and I've already gone on the record complaining about this. Even when Drake tried to flip sides with us, and you know how, like, there's a bit of resistance?
Yep.
How we never got a scene with Otama going, that's the guy that killed everyone in my village.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm thinking. Like this was way too.
Went...
Drake was given a pass way too easily.
Yeah. And, like, even then, it could have been as simple as, like, Luffy just goes, trust me, he's okay. To Otama, and then she begrudgingly is like, okay, big bro. You know what I mean? It's just, like, little things like that would have taken, like, 4 panels or 1 page that should have happened for a lot of characters throughout it would have made it like a lot more sincere. You know what I mean? Just that little extra love. Like
what was it? What was it? Who was that? Like the conflict of Kaido versus Moria. Now, like seeing that one like little tiny panel of seeing a Prime Moria with a sword and everything like that, like I thought we were at least going to get like at least like a brief scene of seeing Moria get his butt whooped. But all we got was like just, you know, Moria standing on one side, Kaido was standing on one side. It looked cool, definitely, but I would have also liked maybe like Odin would have also known about Moria as well, because
he's a pirate.
It broke out of Ringo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like wouldn't Oda also know a little bit of a hint of the upcoming rookies? Like he could have been like, oh, so like they started pouring in or something like that. You know?
Yeah. Like something like that would have been a lot more impactful as well. Even if it was just as simple as Odin went and watched.
Yeah. Or like Odin's reaction to Ryuma's grave being robbed. Because I mean, you know, it's like
that should have made him mad.
Country too, right?
Yeah. Even the fact that the final punch, the Bajrang gun, was really cool and impressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like it would have been a lot more impactful had that happened near the top of Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
Just because the battle would have taken place from like the lowest point to the highest point. It's like on some Gandalf versus Balrog shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like from the lowest dungeon to the highest tower, we fought for days. And exhausted in the air, finally I landed my final strike. You know what I mean? Just
like I was happy with what we got, right? But this is kind of like,
if you read it all in bulk, it's a really good arc. But if you read it week to week, when you've had enough time to sort of think on some of the themes and that, it's like you could have executed this a little bit better. For example, the Witching Owl Boy, right?
yeah,
With Yasui taking the fall for it, but turned out it was always Denjiro. Do you know what we never got to see? Denjiro's reaction to Yasui dying for his crime. That could have been a single 3-panel section where they were thinking about like all the turmoil they've gone through, and you've just got like him in a closed door in the capital somewhere crying, going, why did you do it? Because that would have been like one of the only like lasting links back to Odin. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just stuff like that could have just made the arc a little bit more powerful, which would have made the things that did happen just be like, ugh. And it sucks as well, because it really felt like Oda bit off more than he could chew, in a sense, where you promised us the Big Mum Pirates and the Beast Pirates, and then you immediately go, I can't do that. And it's like, I get it, because it would have been too much, but it's like you also hyped up the samurai being so awesome, and the samurai only ever really fought other samurai or other Beast Pirates fodder.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, even the Oni Wabanshu and the Mimawari Gumo, I think they're called. Like the two ninja groups that were under Orochi. Like the first group got off-screened by Zoro, and then the second group got one-shot by Hyogoro. And it's like, I understand that there aren't samurai like Odin anymore, but it's like at the same point in time, it's like you could have made them not just get one shot, like splitting some, like, and I've voiced this so many times, like just splitting them up between Kid's crew or Law's crew, even if it's off screen, just so we know they're fighting a named character.
I know, gosh, and like again, like I know I know I've talked about this and everything before, but like the fate of Hawkins and Drake, like I have no issues with Hawkins and Drake falling short. Like, absolutely fine with some of the Supernova not making it, but it's just the way that Hawkins like met his quote unquote end, if he is dead. It's just you had this guy who we introduced all the way from the Sabaody archipelago, and we don't even get like just a glimpse or like a panel of just a little bit of tidbit of backstory before he gives out like just
Even-
a glimmer of something to keep us hypothesizing, right? Like he just bites the dust and then
Even instead of that, do you know what would have been so much more impactful for him? I reckon
Hmm.
on the scene right at the end where he's dying, and he goes, "You were right. The one with the 1% chance. It was me." And you know how he's talking about like, oh, you know, even when you offered me to go back with Kid and that, right? They never would have accepted me. Do you know what he should have said then?
Hmm.
He should have just said, "I can't. I made my choice, and it's my pirate's pride not to go back on my decision."
Yeah, exactly. Like
Be-
just a little bit of a
Because that
Sorry, go ahead.
would have kept the honor amongst thieves thing going, where it was like Big Mum going on in the arc being like, there's still a pirate's code. You know what I mean? Where it's like you can betray someone, but it's like you betray them once. Like in a weird way, it's like one of those things where it's just like, look, you can't be a spineless coward. If you make a decision, you got to commit to it. And like,
Yeah, like if you're gonna stab somebody in the back, like if they once they turn around, you better still be there.
yeah.
yeah.
And that could have like added that little bit of extra depth to Hawkins, where it's like, you know, even when I've run out of lives, at the end of the day, I still wasn't going to turn tail and run because I made my grave and I'm going to lay in it.
Where like you know what would have been an epic like last line from Hawkins, like I've finally run out of lives. The only life that matters to me now is the one that I make here. Right?
That could have helped it. That could have helped
I
it.
wonder how many hours we've spent talking about Wano. And all
We
those
need to do we need to do a genuine big Wano stream where we get the we get the manga up and we go through the beginning of Wano as a
we
group.
chop up from Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3.
Because like I'm just gonna point out now. Do you guys remember the
Actually, not a bad concept. Just like scanning through a whole arc really quickly, because obviously you've already read it before. So you just scan through it and just talk around generally what happened and what could have done better and what was good and what was bad.
Maybe we do that as as a break week series sort of thing. We just like start from the beginning of the story and start going through a couple of arcs and that, and just being like, look, this is our thoughts on the arc. These are the things we liked. Point out some stuff. Like I was talking to my wife today about it. Obviously because it's Good Friday. We're talking about some of the religious subcontexts in arcs and stuff like that.
Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
We're talking about how Doflamingo is like a neo Jesus or like the Antichrist, right? You've got someone that's the Son of God, has 12 disciples, gets betrayed by one of those disciples, got crucified, like there's like some crazy big symbolism between them. But then like even going back then we're talking about how like Alabasta is just like there's great story to Alabasta and it's got its own plot, but at the same point in time you could also dumb down the story of Alabasta as going it's like a fairy tale retelling of Peter Pan, right? Where you've got Luffy who's Peter Pan, right? The Straw Hats are sort of the Lost Boys in that, where every one of the Straw Hats up until then would have died if Luffy didn't show up and save them, right? So their lives are essentially forfeit to him, hence joining the crew, right? You have Vivi, who's sort of like Wendy, right? Who joins the organization but then like stays behind and goes back to the real world. And you've got Crocodile, who's Captain Hook. And you still got the same motif of like Captain Hook with the tick tock being scared of the crocodile, where it's Crocodile instead has the bomb that's going to destroy Alabasta doing the tick tock motif, right? And there's like stuff like that where Oda takes concepts of different stories. Like, Oda's a good writer, but he's not necessarily a great writer. But what he does is he takes already existing stories and goes, "Oh, I like that," and he takes it because it's interesting to him, and he applies it and like reworks it in his own way, and that can both make him look way more of a better writer than he is, but at the same point in time, it adds so many more layers to his story, so it is good writing. You know what I mean? So it's like, especially with pop culture stuff, when you can associate stories that are based on other things, you can link with it more. You know what I mean? Like the fact that Whole Cake Island is Disney themed, and then Oda even goes another step and goes, at the same time that Whole Cake Island was coming out, guess what happened? Disney had just taken over Star Wars a couple of years before. So what does he do in his Disney arc? He brings in a clone army. There's just like interesting little things like that like are only like they're products of the age where the arc was coming out, and storytelling, and what types of stories he was looking at for inspiration. Like stuff like how some of the Supernova and stuff like that. Like, there are pirates that are based on real world pirates, right?
Yep.
Eustace Kidd is based on William Kidd. William Kidd is known as the most unlucky pirate.
Yeah.
Right? Despite what I want to happen to Kidd in the story, right? If you just look at him right now in the story, he is the most unlucky pirate. Like,
True.
dude ran in head first, lost his arm, lost his ego, lost his fight, and lost his crew. Even though he's being portrayed to be like an awesome character, he just bears that unlucky storytelling from the like real aspect of the William Kidd story. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean like every aspect gets drawn out from another story, but the stuff that does, it works really well for the storytelling, because it's a way that like tones and stuff get balanced. Like you got Thriller Bark, which is supposed to be like a horror thriller based arc, and Oda makes it goofy because he balances the scary thriller themes with a heap of comedy. And then immediately follows that up with an arc like Sabbaty, which is supposed to be really bubbly. There's amusement parks and everyone's happy, and he just hits you with all these really messed up dark themes. So I reckon that'd be a really fun thing to do, to like go through the different story arcs and like give breakdowns. I would say East Blue stuff can be condensed into probably like one video sort of thing, or the 2 videos, because like East Blue was very short but long, you know what I mean? But like I reckon that'd be really fun to go through and do that, especially getting up to Wano, because then we can finally give our proper criticisms and analysis on Wano, because Wano is both amazing and terrible all at once.
It's such a mixed bag.
Yeah, it definitely is. Alright, Eggs, what are your theories for next chapter? What do you think is going to happen next chapter?
I don't know. I don't think it'll be more of this. I think we're going to cut away to something else.
What I will say is we had Shanks break, GARP break. We're going to have 2 chapters and then a break. So the next chapter may not be that good, but the chapter after it probably is, because we tend to have a good chapter before break.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It just is a weird question, just while I'm looking at this Galaxy Fist, just because it's so beautiful. Do you think, the scope of people's emission for Haki? What's the maximum emission someone could do?
There's a range.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't even know how far I'd go.
I don't think there would necessarily be a limit. It would just be like
How skilled you are.
a certain point is kind of like unrealistic. Like, yeah.
Because I'm looking at GARP here, and I'm just thinking, like, this is Advanced Conqueror's rear destruction that he's emitting the epicenter away from. So he himself isn't the epicenter, which is wild, right? This is like him throwing like one of the freezer death balls out of Haki. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I'm
Like,
also
I'll put it this way. I think like this is more than I would have said.
for Garp, or
This
just in
is
general.
more than like in terms of size of like a Rio ball coming off of your fist. This is more than I would have expected they would have in general.
I just gotta point out, Don Chinjiao splitting continents.
Yeah, but I just mean like how much Rio itself is coming off of your hand is just ridiculous.
Dude, I love this because this is like a town-sized Duraneg attack, and if you supplant all that and still just got hit by the base fist, that fist destroyed something that split a continent as strong as steel.
I can finally imagine Garp actually demolishing those 8 mountains when he trained to defeat Don Chinjiao.
Yeah, but do you know what the thing is? Garp doing that with the mountains, I don't think was him using any conquerors or Rio. I think he was training his regular armament at the time. And so that's just him punching. Because when he defeated Don Chinjiao, he didn't do anything like this. He just did a regular punch with normal armament on it. Because
Dang, so it really did go full cap.
Because I think Garp's a lot like Luffy in the sense that it's like Luffy has all these forms that make him stronger, but instead of just whipping out a form to beat someone, he will try and just do it better in base. And I feel like that's what he gets from his granddaddy, where Garp's just like, you know, I wonder if I can split a continent with my bare hand without doing any emission shit. You know what I mean? He's just like, yeah, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, because it's always the issue. Like when I see like new quote unquote power ups and everything getting introduced like that, people often like, not to say that like One Piece is exempt from this, but like people often, especially like other shonen mangas, they get too warped around like power ups, and then they forget about like just the base arc and training.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that was the whole thing with like Dragon Ball Super, where it was like it got to the point where you've had like so many power ups. It's like we just need to make his base stronger.
Exactly.
Stop giving him new forms. Make him just do some sit ups.
Mm-hmm.
Which is sort of like what I really do like about Luffy, how he's just constantly working on his base at the moment, and how like he's got all these abilities, he doesn't necessarily jump into them, and he can jump into his awakening without using advanced Haki or using Haki at all. But it's like the fact that he's got the options to like combine them and do all of them makes him so much more impressive because of it. Whereas someone like Kid or Law is just like, I got my awakening. If that don't get the job done, well, shit.
Yeah, we toast.
I reckon we may get, since Garp's here, just like how we got Kobe's cross guild bounty, we may get a cross guild bounty for Garp soon, and I'm calling it. It's over 5 bill.
Ooh.
I reckon not too much over. I think it's like 5 bill 56 mil. Or some shit like that. Or actually, Garp. Goroku. Yeah, okay. 5-6. So 5-6 can be read as Gomu or Goroku. So it'd be like almost as if it's like pronouncing Garp. So like 5 billion 56 mil. And that puts him neck and neck in between Whitebeard and Roger. And since he's a hero, it's like he's gonna have like the highest bounty that you can have from Cross Guild. You know what I mean?
I can see that.
I see him and Sengoku being like 5 to 5.3 bill. Neither of them getting a higher bounty than Roger, but both of them having like a bounty equal or greater than Whitebeard. And then it's just all because of their status and clout, you can argue. But it's like also a little bit of like number power scaling in a way. You know what I mean? Where they're just like, they're all relative to each other. It doesn't matter. And then there's probably a bit of a gap between that and the Admirals. Because, you know, Cross Guild doesn't have infinite money. They'll run out of money. Yeah, imagine... You know how we talk about, like, imagine bringing in one of the Yonko to a collection agency and the world government's like, shit, we actually got to pay this? Yeah, dude, imagine being Croc. Croc's broke, remember? Because Buggy borrowed all this money, and he needed his money back.
for his giant league.
Imagine, like, how broke they are, and someone pulls up GARP. And they're like, yo, give me my dimes, boy. And they're all looking at each other like, we don't have the money.
Oh, that's just sad.
Because imagine pissing off the person that beat GARP. Like, I can't pay my tab. Dude, the way Buggy would be like, oh, just kill me. Just end it, please.
Oof, bro.
Oh.
Yeah, like, what do you even do?
I reckon, considering they're getting the backing from the underworld, though, there's probably a lot of, like, kingdoms and that aren't affiliated with the world government, where they essentially have the same level of backing as the world government.
Yeah.
Just on some espionage shit. On that drug money. Oh.
Gotta do it, bro.
Alright. Does anyone have anything else they want to say or talk about or raise?
No, honestly, like, I all I can say is that I am very content with my now One Piece list.
Last thing I'll say before we wrap up, in the panel where Garp's ship is over the clearing, where Garp's like doing the boah ha ha ha, I just got to point out, we still can't see Saruman Wolf on that side of the island. And Saruman Wolf is a big boy, so this island could either be a lot bigger than we think, or Oda just forgot to draw Saruman Wolf.
I'm gonna say it's the latter.
Because he was supposed to be asleep under the right eye.
But he's not.
Oh, this island is about to get totaled. Poor buggers. Actually,
Yeah, they're pirates.
do you know what I didn't even think about then? Do you know what I didn't even think about then? We see the galaxy punch at all the buildings that are destroyed, but Garp punched the middle of the clearing. So there was already a zone of like 100 meters in the center of this attack, and this attack's just radiated out and destroyed all the buildings. I don't know if that makes that more or less impressive.
That's pretty wild.
Because like looking at it, you could argue all those buildings are on the outside of the like sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just the collateral of those poor people in that central area getting just literally murked. Which, by the way, we got to remember, it's not just them getting murked. Kobe's surrounded in the middle of that plaza. So Garp's coming in, punching everyone out, and like essentially killing everyone in the middle of this island with a mission that destroys the entire town, but spares Kobe. In the exact epicenter of it. That's some wild control. Give this man a black blade and send him after Mihawk. I want to see the deed done.
Damn.
We're at the point where Haki Masters are coming out. Shanks, Garp. Does this give you guys hope for Dragon?
Seeing what Garp is capable of and seeing what Luffy's capable of, I wouldn't be surprised if Monkey D. Dragon did have some epic stuff. Because I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that he has a double fruit, right?
It's not confirmed, but it's pretty much confirmed.
But it's very implied.
Yeah, and I mean, he still currently holds the highest bounty in the world as far as we're aware.
Mm-hmm.
So they think he's still bigger than current. They thought he was more threatening than Kaido. Shanks, current Luffy.
Yeah, no, it's because we just haven't seen anything done by Dragon. That's why I kind of omitted him from my. Well, I
Yes.
wanted to omit him from my
Dude,
top 50 list, right? Because again, I only put in people who we've seen physical feats from. Granted, I do apply some reputation in there as well, but
Dude, imagine if next chapter we get to see Dragon do like a Garp-esque level attack, but it's like way more finessey. So instead of like Luffy and Garp where they just come in with a right hook, he just like puts his arm out and is just like, so like Garp's got like the Galaxy Fist, he's just like Universal Destroyer or like Universal Dragon or some shit. Oh, so actually, yeah, Celestial Dragon Claw. And it's just like,
I actually want to see a hockey attack like manifest it, like a Conqueror's hockey attack manifest itself not just in like Black Lightning, but into an actual like animal form. I can imagine like Dragon going in with like Raping Fang or something like that, and he just
Don't worry, the anime will
do
put
that.
in for
Yeah.
you.
Have you ever seen the post time skip Foxy special?
No, I haven't.
What is it called? Hang on, give me a minute. Adventure of Nebulana. Right? I would recommend giving that special a watch because there's a Vice Admiral in that special, and obviously it's not canon, right? But there's a Vice Admiral.
Wait, sorry. That's the Vice Admiral who... It was on that gigantic island, right? Where Luffy hit a cannonball? Or he punched it repeatedly?
No, I don't think it was a cannonball.
Oh, okay.
I think you're thinking of the one with Kobe, the special with Kobe.
Maybe. Probably.
Yeah. No, this one's with Foxy, so it starts off with like another attempt at a Davy backfight. But Foxy has won a Vice Admiral in a Davy backfight. Right?
Okay.
So the Vice Admiral is like the villain of it, but it's actually like he pretended to lose and he's actually infiltrated the Foxy Pirates to get close to the Straw Hats. And what's his name? Hang on. Kamui. His name's Kamui, right? Vice Admiral Kamui. The way this man uses Haki is amazing. So he's got a fan, right? He like closes the fan, the hand fan, so that it's so that it's no longer fanned out, right? And then he's able to extend the length of the fan by just emitting pure Haki off it and manifesting the Haki as a solid object.
Wait. No. This is bringing back... I think I've seen this one.
It's easily forgettable because it's like... It's a Foxy special. Like, low-key, who gives a shit?
That guy almost made it into my top 50.
But, right? And like, Luffy defeats him with like pre-Gear 4 stuff with like where it was just like...
No, because Foxy slows down a cannonball that Luffy punches that he sends down because it's superheated that it dries up the water in the place. So Luffy
Yep, you're right
Okay, there we go.
But this dude is able to make Haki a solid object and extend its length and shapeshift the Haki. And that is something we've never seen done in the series properly. But like, the fact that it was like, even though it's a special, the fact that it was like an ability done relating to Haki, I feel like that's something that they've got to sort of ask Oda if it's possible. You know what I mean? So I could definitely see some crazy shit where like the way Garp is emitting Conqueror's Haki, like as if he's not the epicenter, and he's able to send out like his own like Whitebeard-esque like shockwaves here. I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting into the territory where we see people starting to like manifest their Haki almost as if it's a physical thing and start like using that as a weapon. You know what I mean? Just I don't know. I'm expecting at this point in time the crazy Haki feats to just not stop.
I mean, at this point, like, it's because like we've been hinted about hockey for so long, right? And now we're finally getting some major payoffs. especially with characters who just have been in the story for ages, but they've just never been given the opportunity to actually like throw down. Like, could you imagine, genuinely imagine, just do you after seeing this Galaxy Fist, do you think if the battlefield wasn't Marineford, that that the pre-time skip Whitebeard going up against pre-time skip Garp, how do you think that would pan out?
I just, like I said, okay, this is a question of many syllables, like many points, right? The Whitebeard Pirates had no chance of ever winning. But they got as far as they did because Sengoku loves Garp, right? They're like brothers.
Romance to the highest.
Sengoku understood Garp's position with Ace, right?
Yep.
Sengoku never got active in the war, did he?
No, which was strange, honestly.
Garp never got active in the war, did he? But both were present. The way I see Marineford, and the reason why this is hard, right, is because if you had Garp versus Whitebeard, I think they just clash equally. And it's like one of those stalemate things. You could argue that Garp would win because Whitebeard was sick.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's a fair assessment.
Right? But in terms of like what happened at Marineford, Garp... So, okay. The difference between Garp's relationship with Ace and Dadan's relationship with Ace is Dadan loved Ace and the ASL boys more than anything because she was their mother. Garp respected Ace more than anyone in the world. Right? And what I mean by that is Garp never wanted any of those boys to become pirates or revolutionaries or do what they did. Did he?
No.
But when they made their decision and they did that, he didn't hold it.
Them, yeah.
He didn't hold it against them.
Yeah.
Because he respects them enough to honor their decision. The only person we know that Garp hates is the Celestial Dragons and Shanks. Right? We know from the ASL flashback that Luffy is who got it into Ace and Sabo's mind to be pirates. Right? They were always going to set sail, but they weren't going to be pirates. They just wanted to leave the Go Kingdom, the Gower Kingdom, right? Then Luffy spills his dream and then says, I want to become the Pirate King. And then you get that off-screen bit where he talks about what his final dream is. And then after that, they decide to be pirates. So Garp blames Shanks for the three of them becoming notorious criminals. Which is fitting since Shanks is also a Celestial Dragon. That adds to Garp's hate of them. Right? Since it's known within...
multiple layers.
Yeah. So Garp in Marineford, right? Respected...
Yeah, Marineford had such a gigantic emotional barrier.
He respected Ace enough to let him live his life and live with the consequences of his life. But I feel like at Marineford, Garp was banking on Whitebeard to save him, and Whitebeard did save him. It's just Ace got in his own victory. In the way of his own victory at the end. So Garp, if you go back and really look at it from this perspective, Garp and Sengoku are forced to do a job, and their goal is to take out Whitebeard more than it is to take out Ace. Sengoku had said to Garp, you don't have to be here if Ace is going to be executed. But Garp shows up anyway because Garp gives that respect to Ace. Garp sits down and he even voices to him, why couldn't you just live how I told you to live? Why did you have to be a pirate? Because Ace's whole thing, and you get this in the Ace novel really well, where Ace's whole thing was he always wanted to get out of Roger's shadow. And to Garp, that answer was, if you want to get out of his shadow, become a Marine. Stand for what he didn't stand for. Even though I think he's a good dude, you could go another route and get out from that shadow. Whereas Ace, because of Shanks and Luffy's interference, Ace wanted to just become a pirate where his name was heard better than Roger's. Which is why him not having that direction ended up running into the arms of Whitebeard, and Whitebeard saw his potential, and Ace thought he was making Whitebeard Pirate King, whereas Whitebeard was like, it was always going to be you, bruv. Right? So you get that layer there with that. Then you get Garp sitting on the podium with Ace, but Garp doesn't participate in the war, and neither does Sengoku. Right? You get it so that it is, we're essentially just going to spectate, and we're going to do the bare minimum. Right? We have our orders, we're not going to break our orders, and neither of them break their orders. Right? But they're both essentially holding each other accountable, because, I mean, we even see post-time skip, Sengoku's in the same situation as Garp, but swap Ace with Law. Right? Sengoku is aware of Law and all that, and doesn't arrest him because he has that respect for Rizante and Rizante's decision. Right?
Yeah.
So they're in a kindred spirit there where they're doing their job. They're both trying to alleviate each other for their job, but at the same point in time, they respect each other enough as comrades to not get involved. Right? So Garp was happy for Ace to die because it was an execution based on Ace's own wishes. Ace made his decision and he's got to bear with it. But what Garp didn't want was for Ace to just be indiscriminately mowed down. Right? And part of what Garp thought was going to happen was Whitebeard has just as much of a shot as anyone to freeing Ace. Right? So it's sort of like Ace is either going to die how he lived, which is fine, or Whitebeard's going to free him. It wasn't until Akainu baited Ace and then murdered him by trying to go for Luffy that Garp got upset, because in Garp's mind then, it wasn't giving him the respect. It was like a cowardly thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is when Sengoku was like immediately shutting down Garp, and he's essentially like, what's done is done. I get it, just don't do anything stupid now. You know what I mean? Because like I think pre-time skip, if you swapped Sabo or Luffy into the same situation Ace was in, Garp would have had the same reaction, and it would have resulted essentially in the same thing happening. Whereas now, because it's happened one time, Garp would never let it happen again. And I think that's the big difference there. Where it's like, it's because like that catalyst had to happen. And it also had to happen because if you look at Ace, Sabo, and Luffy as well, like, unironically, they live each other's lives. They lived each other's prophetic lives, right? You had Ace, right? Who... I've got to find the right way to word this.
Take your time, bro. No, to be fair, we've turned. We were supposed to end this at like the 2-hour mark, right? I think we've
2 hour 30. Yeah. It's got some good. We've got some good talking points.
We do. There's much discussion that needs to happen.
Ace, Luffy, and Sabo essentially swapped lives with each other. Luffy is Dragon's son, and realistically should have been raised by Dragon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Sabo took Luffy's life. Sabo joined the revolutionaries and was raised by Dragon. Alright? Ace, according to Roger, was going to be Joy Boy and the guy that brought all this change. Right? But then Luffy ended up having Joy Boy's fruit, and Luffy is the pirate messiah. Which is what Ace's life was supposed to be. Hence why, like, the sun god having the Mera no Mi, having this personality of, like, burning radiance. But it was Luffy instead. Then you have Ace, who essentially lived the life of Sabo, which was Sabo died. Sabo was supposed to die. And Ace died. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of that like that reshuffling of their lives that it's like it's both beautiful and just really really tragic for it, right? But I just saw your comment. Summer may have had a father, but the noble wasn't on his daddy. I love that. But yeah, that's what I sort of think with GARP, right? Where GARP has just so much more layered complexity to him, but at the same point in time, you're not wrong for blaming him. You know what I mean? Like, he could have done more to save Ace, but what he did do is, you see what he's capable of right here. He didn't do that at Marineford. He let Luffy punch him and he took a dive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like the fact that we're seeing this now just proves to the fact that he wasn't trying to hurt. He wasn't trying to he was just respecting Ace. And even with Sengoku only ever attacked once when he was theoretically supposed to against Luffy, where he just punched him with his big fist and Luffy escaped. But then you see Sengoku actually do an attack that's meant to hurt someone later, and he one-shots the entire Blackbeard pirates.
I know, that's still pretty insane.
So, like, we just got to accept the fact that Marineford, it was a huge uphill battle for Whitebeard, and essentially it was a slaughter. It was a slaughter. You know what I mean? You had Whitebeard, who no offense to the Whitebeard pirates, but Whitebeard was the only person there worth a damn. Right? I love Marco, but I mean,
Marco's not taking on 3 admirals, no way.
we saw Marco step to Garp, and we didn't see this, but we saw Garp bitch slap him away.
Yeah.
Right? What that was, and I feel like Whitebeard understood it too, is we will swap Ace for you. You know what I mean? It was a matter of like, someone's dying. It's you or Ace. Pick.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Ace picked both.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but it's beautiful at the same time. You know what I mean?
It is. It is. There's beauty in tragedy as well. As dark as that sounds.
I mean, it's Ace's whole thing of like never running away from a fight did wonders for him up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was all good until it wasn't.
Yep. I kind of feel like at that point it was also kind of showing how I don't know if I'll get flack for this, but how Ace's own quote unquote selfishness in a sense, because he was already running away with Luffy. Luffy was in no danger then and there. It was Ace who decided to turn around because all he got was verbally insulted. That was it. You gotta think about it. Like Ace, like Luffy wasn't injured. Like Whitebeard already admitted that he was on death rope. The only thing that was supposed to be was that Ace was supposed to get away. But just because of a verbal insult from Akainu, Ace stopped then and there.
Do you know what?
All of his other crews and expectations like just shattered.
Do you know what the ironic thing about that is, though?
Yeah.
That's what we find out that Roger does. When someone insulted one of Roger's people, he wouldn't turn away, no matter how dangerous it was. So that's the ironic thing there, where it's like, it's almost like Kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you didn't have luck on your side. You didn't have that Master Chief level of luck, because Ace turned around, and he immediately copped immediate repercussions for it by getting burnt by Akainu. But then he still could have ran from there, and he was potentially going to. He was going to hold off Akainu for a bit and run potentially. He just, wasn't going to let him talk his shit. But it wasn't until Luffy made a mistake that it cost Ace his life. Right? Which, thinking back on that now, that might be what happens here with Kobe. If Kobe costs Garp his life, what would happen the next time Kobe meets Luffy?
Yeah.
Because we know Kobe would feel bad about it and almost indebted, But at the same point in time, Luffy would be like, you know, Garp just did his thing. Yeah, Glitter, you're 100% on the money there as well. About Aces, like, being tortured for hours watching his family die. Oh, okay. I'll be wrapping up now at the 3-hour mark. Hey, man, it was a good chapter. And we're good.
It was an amazing chapter.
I'm going to be talking about this like crazy. Like, dude, the clay fruit, I love it, right? Hibari, I like her threads, right? Suru's granddaughter has me excited because it makes me feel like Suru's going to come back in the story a little bit, right? And the fact that she's a rear admiral has me like, hey, good on ya. Technically, out of all
Question Suru's teachings.
out of Garp, Sengoku, and Suru is apparently the best teacher because her student has gotten the highest rank.
Yes. Well, that's the thing too, because like Suru always to me like she seemed the most
Well adjusted.
Yeah. Like Suru to me seemed like the most down to earth to be a teacher because Sengoku was often weighed down by a lot of political influence. Garp is kind of just punched this mountain a bazillion times. There we go. He didn't really care about the politics. So Suru seems like a really good mix between Garp and Sengoku, which is why I feel like she is the best candidate to become a teacher.
I'm gonna have to start the petition. Make Zephyr canon. Make Zephyr canon. Make Zephyr canon. I need Zephyr and I need his students. Where's his gen? Alright, that being said, any last comments now from anyone? All happy? All excited?
Yes, I'm. All I can say is the satisfaction blew my mind out when I first read this, man.
Oh, I loved this chapter. This was
an amazing chapter. Well needed too, very much needed.
The Garp love was well and truly needed and deserving. Alright. That being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. Alright, we've been going for 3 hours and 12 minutes, so this is going to end at 3:13, hopefully on the dot. Hey! Thank you guys and girls for coming by. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Say goodbye, Eggs and Kuma.
Bye, Eggs and Kuma.
Alright, and until the next video or until the next chapter of One Piece, whatever it is you're here for, nothing but peace, nothing but respect. Have a damn good day. Goodbye, everybody.